A night in with MauLer and the drinker, getting trashed with the web's free thinkers. A cheap night cause I'm feeling kinda thrifty, got a 10-pack of beers and a bottle of whiskey. Hop up the cork, have a glass of wine, pass fail safe, I'll be fine. Trouble walking in a straight line, but pour me a Pinot Noir. It's open bar with our hosts, MauLer and the critical drinker.
Well, MauLer, that sounds like our cue. Are you ready?
Hello. Yes,
Hello.
of course. It's been some time.
It has, yeah. I was off last week touring Estonia, making videos and stuff, but I'm back now. And hey, it's December. It is festive season, and you know what that means. It's time for the Die Hard t-shirt or Die Hard jumper. It's beautiful.
And some people have been complaining about it. I did warn him not to go outside. He does it anyway. I can't stop him. I've tried. Just he thinks it's good for the soul or something.
It never ends well. A couple of times I even did it without my sunglasses on because
God.
It never really gets daylight over there at this time of year, as I've discovered. So sunglasses don't really work, even for me. But welcome everybody. It's good to be back, and it's good to be talking with you guys again.
Yeah.
Should we do the thing? Should I give you some? Because there won't be many more of these, actually. We've almost caught up with ourselves.
No.
With our pointless facts. But
I hate how time works.
I know, but then we'll find a new gimmick and we'll roll with that. But I'm going to hit you with some facts. And I suppose let's just start with the obvious one in terms of things which happened in 1966. Right. England won the World Cup. It pains me to say it. Because holy fuck, they have never let the world forget about it. But yes, they did win the World Cup, so well done, England. Luna 10 orbited the moon. So that was the first ever man-made object to orbit the moon, and it was the Soviets who actually did it. Also, the first ATM ever was released.
Ooh.
You could go to a little machine in a wall and get money out.
It's like magic.
Lovely. Yeah.
A little wizard in there just gives you his money. Crazy.
People, imagine living back then, and it's like, wow, we're orbiting the moon. We can take money out of walls. I mean, it's just what else?
The sky's the limit.
Yeah, what a crazy world we're living in. Actually, also this year, Star Trek premiered for the very first time. So,
wow.
Yeah, that became quite the interesting franchise. And there's some new entries in that we'll talk about shortly. But for now, we'll move on. In not so good news, this is probably quite close to home for you, MauLer. The Aberfan disaster, a coal mining town in Wales. They took the unusual step of storing all the waste products of like coal mining in a gigantic heap right next to the town. Never thinking like, hey, what happens if this all tips over and just like crushes the town? I'm sure nothing will happen. But then it turns out something did happen.
It sounds like the cartoon supervillain shit, doesn't it?
It really does, yeah. It's just
we put all the nuclear waste underground and it spewed like a monster that ate the town or something.
Pretty much. I mean, it landed right on a school and killed 116 children and 26 adults, which is genuinely horrific stuff. So yeah, it was it prompted a major rethink of how all of these mines were run in the future. Also that year, just for comparison purposes, in case you were ever wondering, the average UK house price was £2,006, or between £2,000 and £3,500. The average salary was about £800 a year. So you save up for like several years, you could buy yourself a house. And a 3-bedroom house in London was £4,700 in total to buy.
Very few YouTubers back then, you see.
I mean, that would barely rent you a house. Like that's like a monthly rent in London at this point.
Yeah.
Wild. Also stuff that happened that year, Walt Disney passed away at the age of 65, so relatively young. He died from lung cancer. So.
Beginning the downfall of Disney.
I know. Imagine if you could see what his empire has become. Yeah, in terms of the movie industry, though, some of the biggest movies of the year: The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, classic. Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf and A Man for All Seasons, which is the one that really cleared up at the Academy Awards. It won Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, what else? Best Screenplay and Cinematography. So it did rather well.
Well, wow. Good stuff.
Anyway, consider yourselves furnished with pointless knowledge. Now, it's time to assemble the bar so we can talk about actual interesting stuff in the present day, or whatever passes for interesting these days. Anyway, welcome to the open bar. Random Film Talk. Chris Gore and Little Platoon. How are you guys doing?
Hello.
I love your festive attire there, Platoon.
Beautiful. I know. I get into the spirit of things. You can't tell it from the way I speak, but I'm really enthusiastic about Christmas.
I love to feel festive at this time of year. It's good to have you guys on board. And well, I was kind of like racking my brains on how we start this one. I think we should talk a little bit about Star Trek, just purely because it came up in our little intro there. Star Trek premiered for the first time in 1966, and you could argue that it died around 2015, but they're still rolling them out. And here we go. We've got the next poster for their new show, Starfleet Academy, and just look at that. There it is.
Oh, Star Trek! I can't believe how Star Trek it looks.
I could just
the faces
imagine.
all look photoshopped.
Yeah.
I mean, if you'd remove Star Trek Fleet Academy, it's like, what do you guess this show is? You'd be like, Alien High? Like, I don't know. Looks pretty generic and horrible.
It just, we've had lots of moments like this, I think, over the years recently. Just thinking, this is it. This is what Star Trek is now. But I think this might be the ultimate example of it. It's just, wow. It makes me feel sad.
Yeah, that's not Star Trek. I mean, that's some teen show that it's a CW show. I mean, look how bad this is. It's 90210. It's it's shite.
I mean, I know they say you can't judge a book by its cover, or you shouldn't, but I feel like in this case, you probably could, because that says a lot about the intent behind this one.
You've seen the trailer, right? Did you guys react to the trailer for this?
No, I didn't.
I don't think so.
I almost just like don't even want to give it the airtime now. Like, I feel like I would rather just let it quietly die alone, unloved in a corner.
Besides, Gary and I usually force me to see it on Real BBC, so
you're gonna watch it, MauLer? You're gonna
not the show, just the trailer. I meant.
Right.
No way they can force me to watch this. That would be a crime.
I love this one. Which one is trans? All of them, probably. Which one's gay? Also, all of them, I think.
There's a they, them in there for sure.
Oh, for sure,
yeah. No, this is the final boss of the death of Star Trek, which is really good timing for this. I can announce we did. I think Drinker, you helped with this. You were on our Star Wars trial. We put.
Yes. Well, I'll bring this up. Yeah.
Yeah, Lucasfilm and Disney. We put on trial for the murder of the Star Wars franchise. We then did a funeral. Well, we are doing in two weeks a Star Trek funeral for a franchise. December 17th. It's an all-day event. We'll go a 12-hour live stream where we're asking people to do their eulogies for Star Trek. So if you post on social media, hashtag Star Trek funeral or Star Trek is dead, we'll find your video. We'll feature that. You're invited. Everyone on the stream is invited to be on the show and give their eulogy. I know Gary is from Neurotic. He'll be there. And it's going to be a somber event. So, but wow, that Starfleet Academy marketing is just god awful. I don't know. I don't know who they think it's for. I mean, look at that.
Because, like, obviously, looking at the makeup of the cast, it's like, as MauLer said, this is like YA fiction set in the Star Trek universe, and I just think, who's your average Star Trek fan at this point in history? It's probably going to be guys at least 40 years old. To remember it back in the older days of like the Next Generation and stuff, and they're not going to be taken by this. And like people who are young and are just looking for like a YA sort of, I don't know, like high school drama type thing, they're not going to be entranced by the whole Star Trek setting. They're not going to care about the sci-fi stuff.
Yeah.
It's like
But
the
it's
worst of
hunting
both
like the
worlds.
mythical modern audience. Lots of these old legacy brands will do this. They say, well, we've got a core audience, but they're all getting old now. And the valuable people, the ones we really want, we need to capture the next generation, to borrow a phrase. So we're going to go out of our way to really, really pander to everything that our marketing team thinks young people like. They seem to have forgotten that there was actually a time when Star Trek was quite new and it appealed to lots of different people, including young people, by being what it classically was, which is a well-written, well-constructed science fiction show about science fiction things with great characters. It's almost this sort of patronizing attitude toward young people, which is that they need this kind of generic relationship-filled slop in order to watch any kind of entertainment whatsoever. They won't possibly be attracted by the kind of high-quality storytelling we used to do. It's sad to think it might be true. I don't think it is, though. I just think that the declining quality of all these things and the declining viewership of all these things goes hand in hand. You're not going to win over the next generation of Star Trek fans by giving them something that isn't Star Trek.
This feels like the kind of show that their target audience would have on second screen while they flick through social media on their phone.
Mm-hmm.
So every so often they can look up and see some like really hot, young, muscly, good-looking characters having relationship stuff going on, vaguely connected to the Star Trek universe, and then they can look back at their phone again. That's honestly what this seems to have been designed for. And wow, as you say, like Star Trek used to be like a show of real intelligence and ideas and something that would expand your view of like the world and what was possible. And this is what it is now. Wow.
But it's doubly bizarre because, we live in a time when space travel is more possible than it has been probably since Star Trek was first coming along. You had the big space race drama of the 60s, which is the background context that Star Trek takes place in, all these bold new possibilities in the future. We've also got the advent of artificial intelligence. There's lots of high sci-fi concepts that are becoming more and more real in our day-to-day lives. It's kind of the ideal time for a thoughtful show about technology like Star Trek used to be. But again, they're sort of taking away everything that made it what it once was. So there's virtually no interest in the science aspect of science fiction from what I've seen of the last several recent Star Trek productions, which seems just like a missed opportunity. All of these things are all around us now in a way that they were when it first became popular. It's ripe for a serious and thoughtful exploration of these, strange new worlds we're going into. Keep doing the Star Trek puns. But it's just nothing. They just seem to think, everything has to be your generic relationship drama with young adult stars who you could drop from one poster into the poster of an entirely different show and nothing would look out of place. Even the Klingon would probably belong in like your modern soap opera by the looks of things.
I think the difference now is compared to, say, the 1960s when you had the space race is that technology is so ubiquitous that it's not inspirational anymore. And, even now when we're talking about like, commercialization of space and probably within the next decade or so, we'll have colonies on the moon and probably Mars and stuff as well. But it's just seen as like, just an offshoot of just the natural expansion of commercial space flight rather than something that the whole human race is like rallied behind. It's weird. It doesn't seem to be like firing up people's imagination in the same way that the moon race did back in the 60s. And it's the same for all aspects of technology, like even AI, which was this, how many movies did you have back in the 80s and 90s that posited the dangers of AI and taking over the world and the threat it posed to humanity, but also the incredible potential of it? Now it's just this goofy thing that like makes stupid videos on social media that people are mildly irritated by and a bit distrustful of, but that's all you got.
I'm invested in seeing more and more HD attempts of Will Smith eating spaghetti. We got to get to the.
It's getting better every time, by the way.
That's how we can judge its progress, how convincing it is.
But it's become mundane because we're exposed to all of this stuff so much that we don't even feel much of anything for it.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, we're finally at the point now, I think, where people are unable to tell the difference with a lot of AI posts. It's gotten pretty
getting there.
good.
It's getting there, yeah. Because how many posts do you see on social media of like buildings collapsing or people getting into a fight in the street and stuff? It's like I actually can't tell if that's AI or not now.
Combine that with the accounts that are designed solely for engagement from different countries. It's just like, what the fuck is even real on the internet anymore? It's like, oh.
The internet's dead anyway, MauLer. You know that.
I've seen people say like it's time to go outside. I think. Like,
yeah,
finally.
I can't handle this anymore. Yeah, Chris, I wanted to ask, and I should ask. I know you have seen Avatar: Fire and Ash, right? And
Yes.
to a degree, you're under a review embargo, so I guess you can't give us specific details of the plot. But it would be interesting to get your overall impressions of the film. How it compares to, like, say, other big blockbusters, how it compares to the other two entries in the Avatar series.
I can do all of that for you, and it ties in nicely with the current discussion here, kind of the death of the sci-fi aspect in these franchises. But I, for one, little few caveats here. I like the first Avatar for what it was. It was a self-contained story that was really plot-wise was lifted from Dune. In fact, when Avatar was being released, it stopped a production of Dune that was being developed at Paramount. It's the same story. An outsider comes to a native people, adopts their ways, conquers, in Paul Atreides' case, the sandworm. In Jake Sully's case, the dragon, becomes one of the natives and repels invaders who are plundering the planet for resources. It's plot for plot point Dune. And I enjoyed it. And the 3D was innovative. It was very different sort of 3D that pushed into the screen instead of coming out at you, like sort of cheesy ways to use 3D. The second movie I give credit for having a good father. Hardly any media, TV or film, has good representations of father figures. And the second movie was more of a family movie with a good father and a story about a family. And I thought the delving into the watery depths of Pandora was different. So it was fine and forgettable. Before I talk about Fire and Ash, I want to ask everyone here and everyone in the chat one question. You cannot look this up. I want you to be honest to make a point. Name one of the kids from Avatar.
Rufus.
Slurpo.
You can't say Slurpo.
I will say, Chris, as well, just people are mentioning in the chat, you might be on the wrong mic. I think we might be hearing you through your camera.
Oh, shit. Okay, I'm going to fix that right now.
Yeah, we can hear you okay. It's just like it's a little bit tinny.
While you do that, I think one of the kids' names is something like Nateb or something, but I only know that because I did basically the same thing you just did, but I was having an argument with someone who really, 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 really likes the movie. Talked about how brilliant it was, fantastic well-being, all the rest of it. Lovely, lovely guy, don't get me wrong, but basically posed the same question. The younger son is the most important character in the second movie. So I said, what's his name? Long pause. And then the excuse was, well, it's an alien name. I don't remember those. But, okay.
Yeah.
No one remembers Jabba the Hutt.
Is this better? Is this better right now?
Yeah, that's
good.
yeah.
Cool. So yeah, I asked that question because nobody could answer that question at the screening I was at. What are the names of the kids? Right? You've got one is played by Sigourney Weaver, who plays like effectively a 15-year-old, right? You've got the younger daughter. You've got the two sons, one older.
You got the human son that's like their adopted kid as well.
That was the only one I could remember.
The Spider, right?
Spider.
Yeah, I was going to call him
most
Slug for some reason.
So him and Sigourney Weaver are the two that I remember, and that's just because they're, I guess, visually distinctive. And one of them is weird because it's a child that looks kind of like Sigourney Weaver.
That's a challenging wank. Let me be honest about that. But the rewards are there for those who are willing to persevere. But no, like the even the wife of the main character, like, so you've got Jake Sully, who's like your main guy, and I genuinely struggle to even remember her name. Like, it's Natiri, isn't it?
Natiri, yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly
like
right.
even I like had to like search back for that, and she's been in 2 movies now, and she's like a pivotal character.
Yeah.
And even then, it's I don't know, man. Like,
On the topic of like the kids, like the actors playing the kids, apart from Sigourney Weaver, I was just thinking about this earlier. Like, all of these movies were filmed nearly a decade ago, and because they've been in post-production for essentially nearly a decade. And I don't know if this was the case for you guys, but I don't know who any of these child actors are. Like, I had never heard of any of them. And I don't even know if they've gone on to do different things sort of in the interim before the movies actually came out. And I was just thinking that can't have been good for their career. They're in this massive movie that then doesn't get released until they're 10 years older than they were when they were in it.
I mean, that's the James Cameron way, I guess, with this franchise. Like, he is perfectly willing to devote like 20 years of his life to this thing. I mean, I can see why from a financial point of view, but creatively, like, nothing about it is going to ever be remembered. People will remember the Avatar movies because they made a shitload of money. No one will remember anything about their stories or their characters or anything.
I was going
And
to
there's,
ask
like,
Chris that question because I've seen that in a bunch of the early reviews. It's one of the big red flags that always comes up is when early reviewers, who are more inclined, I think, to be a bit favorable toward a movie, when they say something like, oh yeah, the story, it's really bland and, it's a bit sort of been there, done it, we've done it before, it's a bit repetitive, but the movie's still stunning, it's visually great, etc., etc., etc. That just sounds like everything that I already know about Avatar. Is this movie one of those where, like the last two, the story is going to be kind of not remembered? Or is this actually going to finally make a mark for art?
Well, I give this caveat because to let you know, I'm not an Avatar hater. I enjoyed the first movie. It had some really interesting sci-fi concepts, a dying Earth, plundering resources on other planets, and the whole concept of casting your mind into an avatar so you can exist on a foreign planet. That's interesting stuff. The second movie, fine, was a fun adventure. This movie begins with James Cameron on screen giving you a talk saying no AI was used, and he basically sings the praises of the actors' performances. And there's a whole documentary currently on Disney Plus about the process they used, right? They almost in Avatar-like sense did their performances with their faces, and that was translated to the CG models. So the movie opens with a little couple minutes of Cameron. I think he's pushing for some of the actors in the movie to get Oscar noms. Just a hunch. Just a hunch. In any case, the film itself, it's mind-bogglingly dumb. It's cast aside. I mean, no surprise. It's cast aside any sort of interesting science fiction ideas. It doesn't move anything story-wise forward. At the risk of sounding spoilery, it kind of ends where it begins. Nothing progresses. And I would describe the movie as Swiss Family Pandora. It's for kids. While the last movie was more for kids, this is even more for children. And it's disappointing for me. Additionally, the action, it's nothing we haven't seen before in the previous two films. So it retreads old territory we've already seen. It's insufferably long, 3 hours and 17 minutes to get through. And in my opinion, did not earn that running time. Easily could have been cut to 2 hours without losing any of the story. The one thing that I'll tell you, because it's from the trailer, the character of Spider, in the most insanely stupid way, is given the ability to breathe on Pandora, which makes him a very valuable asset, because if they can reverse engineer how he's able to breathe the Pandora air, then all humans can breathe Pandora air, which would bring more people from Earth to Pandora. We don't get there's nothing in this. There's some really big, interesting ideas Cameron could have played with. I think, MauLer, you'll have a field day with this. What's happening on Earth? Are they going to resettle to Pandora, possibly? None of that. There's nothing interesting. The story seems small, and it's a constant. This person is kidnapped. We got to rescue them. This person gets taken. We have to rescue that person. It feels like a really long season of some dumb kid show edited to 3 hours.
We've heard that 2 and 3 used to be the same film. Does it feel like that? Like they were split into 2 halves?
I don't know about that, but there's nothing there. Where are the ideas? There are no interesting ideas. That the first film set up some concepts that's interesting. Like Terminator 1 and 2 had great concepts about time travel and and fate and AI. There is nothing. It is like I say, Swiss Family Robinson on Pandora with the Sully family. Sully's never quit. It's and again, this is coming from someone who enjoyed the first 2 films, not a hater, but also I recognize I couldn't remember the names of the kids at all, except for Spider. That's the only one. He's the annoying Tarzan kid, the feral, kid and there's so many dumb things. He's got 2 of these face masks, right? Like his very survival, he will die without air, and he has to charge these devices. So he's got one in the charger and one he has on his person at all times. And he is not very responsible in a childlike way with his air breathing device. It's these movies, hard to believe, have gotten dumber, and they should have gotten smarter. There should be really big stakes about the planet and what's going on. Plus the fact this new character, the fire, I'll have to look up her name. Her character is Varang. They really with Stephen Lang plays a Quaritch,
Yes.
and he recruits her tribe to help him in his goals. And there's some oddly sexual scenes between the 2 of them that are.
I mean, I was going to say, because
I'm not going to get into it.
The previous movie kind of implied that his loyalties might be a little bit split, and he's not quite sure, who he wants to help and stuff, because he has that moment with his son, with Spider. Is any of that factored into this, or is he just an out and out bad guy again?
Out and out bad guy. Nothing changes. Like I said, it ends where it begins. Nothing advances or changes. And I thought, okay, the second movie, I'll take it. It's for families. Strong, a good father. We almost never see that in media at all. So I give him credit for that. But the third movie should have been some big stakes for Earth. We should have seen Earth. We should have, there's so much that could have been done to really advance a larger story. And it's a very small family movie of things we've seen a million times and things we've already seen in the first 2 films. So I'm very disappointed. Like, of course it looks great. Of course it sounds great. But I would argue the 3D is not as good in this movie, in this film, as it was in the 2 previous.
I mean, I would argue that, like, at this point, no one cares about 3D, and like trying to use that as a selling point for a movie is like a waste of time. And
Yes.
the spectacle of great visuals in a film, again, is something that we've had 10 years of at this point. We've been saturated by movies that have incredible visuals. It's not impressive anymore. And yeah, I think what you're describing just fills me with absolute dread for watching this, because I figured, you know, the first movie was criticized for having a fairly derivative plot. The second one was criticized for having another pretty derivative plot. It was basically like a family drama with the backdrop of, like, you know, a bit of an epic conflict. And it just happened to look nice on an alien world. And I thought, right, the third movie is the chance for him to really ramp up the storytelling stakes and do something interesting now. It's like, you've had your 2 movies to have a glorified tech demo. Yeah. We've had like 6 hours, I guess, of like beautiful landscape shots of Pandora. Give us something more substantive with this one. And it seems like he's gone the opposite direction and decided, like, oh no, we're going to give you even more visuals that look gorgeous but mean nothing.
Critically important, though, in this case, because as far as I understand it, this is supposed to be the one that is the culmination of a 3-movie arc. The next 2 movies, if they get made, and I sort of have the sneaky suspicion James Cameron doesn't really want to make them, but they're going to be a different story. They start again somewhere else, other people, other time, other place. This is supposed to be like the Return of the Jedi for the Avatar franchise. It's very difficult to do that when you've had your Empire Strikes Back and nobody noticed because it was boring and shit. But it sounds like he's not really even leaned into the big sort of climax of well, what can you climax with a story like Avatar? It's very hard to show like the state of Earth, because the 2 movies preceding changed their mind on what was going on with Earth. On the one hand, it was dying and everybody needed to migrate to Pandora. On the other hand, it wasn't dying and everybody needed whale brain goo to live forever. And then unobtainium in and then forgotten again. And then you have the basically sidetrack becomes the entire plot of the second movie. It's the character, the villain who dies in the first movie, then comes back in the second movie, and the excuse is he leaves a video recording to himself, basically trying to retcon himself back into existence by saying, I'm not going to die. I know I'm not going to die. But just in case I do die, here's an audio log that would explain what the setup for this movie is. It's just, I despise these movies with a passion. So I'm kind of, yeah, I can't decide if I'm looking forward to this one because I am a passionate hater, or whether I'm dreading another 3 hours of pretty nothing.
I mean, in a way, they represent all the worst tendencies of modern filmmaking, like really shit writing, completely bland, indifferent performances. Like, you're never going to convince me that what the fuck is his name? The guy who plays Jake Sully,
Sam Worthington.
Sam Worthington. Yeah, you're never going to convince me that he's a leading man. But yeah, just paired with like really overblown visuals, and the fact that it's coming from a guy like James Cameron, a guy who's made some fucking incredible movies in his career. Not exactly a prolific director, but the things he's made have generally been excellent. It's super disappointing to see him devolve into this.
That's what I wanted to ask you, Chris. If I don't know if you can answer it, but does this Avatar 3 kind of wrap up the story as a trilogy? Like, regardless of whether it's good or bad, does it feel like the end of a story, or does it feel open-ended and like it could go, continue?
They do not wrap it up. It doesn't end on a cliffhanger. It's just it ends in a way where nothing is resolved. So right. I think it's incredibly lazy to not. I thought this third film would raise the stakes where you'd want to see, like, oh my God, you have to make 4 and 5 to complete the story. There's nothing advances, and it takes place directly after the events of Way of Water. So like, there was a time in between Avatar and Way of Water. There was a time jump. Family was, kids and all this, like what, maybe 15, 16 years transpired between the 2 films. And in this, they literally and they spend a good amount of time, a insufferable amount of time dealing with the death of the older son from the last movie. Sorry, that's a spoiler from Way of Water.
I forgot he even died.
Right.
I don't even know who you're talking about.
You know, he's kids.
They're in mourning for the older son for like a good third of the film. He's constantly brought up. They're very sad, and then it builds to another big battle that's of a type we've already seen. So there's nothing new in this film.
Help me understand, right? Are we all on this panel just collectively space racists, and like we don't empathize with the Na'vi because they're blue people?
Well, I was going to say that the funny thing about this movie is all humans are bad, and they're all. I couldn't see a non-white character. They're all white, so it's all it feels very cowboys and Indians, and the Indians are the good ones, and the POV is a cowboys and Indians movie, a really simple-minded family adventure from the POV of the Indians, and the blue Na'vi are good, and all humans are bad, except for the ones that help out the Na'vi. And they really, really lean into the Indian aspect. They're doing war paint and, just weird headdresses. And it's like, they're like not making it feel alien. It feels like, putting ideas from things we're familiar with, old Westerns, onto a sci-fi landscape. It's at all levels. It seems it's just lazy, and the writing is the worst. And this is coming, by the way, not a hater. I like the first film, enjoyed the second, do not like this one.
It'll be interesting to see then if for some well, actually, that's another question. Do you guys think that this film will be a success?
I still think, in spite of all of that, it will be. The competition, look at what's coming out. Five Nights at Freddy 2, which I'm seeing later today. There's really nothing. Zootopia 2 is doing great.
Yeah, Zootopia will have burned out by the time this comes out. I mean, I can put it into context, right? So the first Avatar came out way back in 2009. That made almost $3 billion worldwide. So 2.923 billion. Way of Water made 2.3 billion. So a bit of a drop there. I think this one will still turn a healthy profit because from what I'm seeing, the production budget was a little bit less than Way of Water. I think because they were shot back to back and there was like savings on not having to develop even more new technology with it. I think you'll probably see about 1.6 billion for this. If I had to take a bit of a wild guess, it's not going to make as much as Way of Water. I think you're going to see like this general downward trend continuing in terms of the box office revenue. But hey, it's going to be one of the very few movies this year that's going to cross the billion mark. So there is that.
I agree with your assessment. It'll definitely cross a billion. I don't think it'll cross 2. It doesn't have the replay value that the
no one's talking about it. No one's anticipating it.
It's
if we were coming up to like a new Star Wars movie or something, not now, but 10 years ago or something, the anticipation would be through the roof. People would be speculating about where the characters were going, what was going to happen, what secrets we were going to unearth or whatever. No one's talking about Avatar.
It's because it doesn't engage them really, and it's not designed to. It's so the box office is almost a self-fulfilling thing because it's kind of accepted the Avatar movie's coming out, so you move out of its way, and that produces no competition, so it does really well. And then the next time one comes out, you move out of its way because the last one did so well because you didn't compete with it. People don't go to watch Avatar movies generally for the plot because, with the exception of a couple of interesting ideas, as Chris mentions in the first one, there isn't a plot. It's unspeakably derivative. All the problems with the noble savage trope have been there since the beginning. It completely does not flesh out any of the world that it's building. It just makes it look really pretty, and that's ultimately what the audience seems to expect of it. They will go there, they will sit there, they will bathe in these vague feelings, and then they will leave, and it'll be, oh, well, that sure did look pretty. Pandora, what a well-built world. I love the way all those islands float. Isn't it great? I compared the second one to the Feelies from Brave New World when I covered that, because it's kind of that basic idea. You don't go to be engaged. You go to switch off and have your brain massaged by pretty blue people. I don't think that's a good future for cinema, because I like to think that film is a narrative art medium. But unfortunately, lots of people do seem to like this kind of low-level stimulation. I just think they should smoke weed.
If it did make over 2 billion, how would you guys explain it?
I'll explain it. It's for normies. It's for normies that don't watch YouTube to get opinions about movies, or don't even pay attention to much of anything. They'll see Avatar, pretty things, pretty lights. I'll see the movie and forget about it. That's it. It's literally, it's for normies. It's not for sci-fi fans or fans of genre.
It's going to be people. It's the holiday season. It's people that have not got much to do, and it's like, oh yeah, I remember Avatar. Like, those movies are kind of a big deal. Let's go and see what they're doing now. Let's catch up with Jake Scully or whatever. And that's all it's going to be. So I can explain it away quite easily with that. And like, maybe there's this like latent desire for like some kind of event movie this year that we haven't really had, and maybe that'll prompt people to go see it as well. I think
that's I think that's part of it, because things like Star Wars, Marvel, Jurassic Park, like all of those other franchises that have just been slowly tanking, and now we've had a year where like none of them have made over $1 billion. I think that Avatar hasn't had the frequency for people to get bored of it yet, and I think that the first two were broadly well received. And the fact that, yes, there was a drop-off with number 2, but it wasn't a massive drop-off. I was amazed that it made 2.2 billion. And given that demonstrated that the audience, or that there was still an audience after 15 years. And I think that from the sounds of it, Avatar 3 is not going to bring in a new audience, but everyone who went to see 2 will probably go and see 3. So it would not surprise me if this did break 2 billion. And I think it will probably be easily the highest grossing film of the year. If it doesn't, and something goes horribly wrong, though, from what you've said, Chris, I think it'll be very funny if the story is essentially left incomplete.
Right.
Yeah, it's funny what you were saying. Like, do you get the impression that Cameron actually wants to back out of these movies and wants to do something else? Because I thought he was super fucking invested in the Avatar world.
But then everything he said since then, over the last few weeks, has been, I'm going to take a break from it between 3 and 4. At the very least, I'm taking a break. Will it make enough money? I don't know. It costs so much to make. It's going to have to make 3 times as much as the huge amount it costs to make. If it doesn't make that much money, then we're not going to carry on doing it. These things have to get cheaper for them to be worth doing. Lots and lots of qualifications, lots of, maybe I'll come back in a bit, but I have other things I want to do first. I can't imagine beyond the technology side what he's interested in about this world, because he drops the only interesting ideas that he introduces in the first movie. Doesn't reintroduce those in the second movie at all. There doesn't seem to be any evident interest in the content of the movie itself. Lots of passionate interest in driving the technology of movie making forward, which is creditable. It is a real achievement. But if he's not doing that for 3, 4, and 5, then I don't really understand what his own interest in this franchise is. And he says, he wants to do another Terminator movie before the world catches up with it, which is horrific. The only good thing Avatar has done is keep him from ruining other Terminator movies. So,
well, you say that he produced Dark Fate, I think.
Yeah.
I think he's had a hand in producing all of these shit Terminator like sequels, but it doesn't mean anything. Like, he essentially just gave it his rubber stamp of approval, because like it allows.
He's fucking lost it. Whatever he had is gone. The storytelling.
It's such an interesting position he finds himself in, because I feel like he's almost like Quentin Tarantino in that he's sort of removed from the day-to-day like cultural relevance of Hollywood, and he sits in his own bubble, just doing the movies that he wants to do when he wants to do them, and nothing like penetrates that. Like, he's kind of just taken himself out of the filmmaking world to do his own little world of Avatar. And it's such a weird choice, I guess, for a guy that, made some pretty iconic movies in his time. Man, I don't know. He's an odd one.
It's disappointing too, because he brought back Giovanni Ribisi's character from the first movie, was outcast as the corpo a-hole, that's a lot of cheddar, That was his line. That
I forgot he was in that fucking movie until this
Yep.
very moment when you said his name.
Sorry about that. But he's brought back in this basically the same role and doesn't do anything. Like, raise the stakes. Earth is dying. We have to relocate all humans to Pandora. We found this kid, a spider. He can breathe on Pandora. Let's reverse engineer this process and find a way for humans to relocate. We'll colonize Pandora. There's got to be big stakes. It blew it. It's the third movie's a missed opportunity to make the story interesting enough to continue. But I don't care if it does.
I mean, yeah, because I don't want to labor the Avatar point too long, but I will say, like, I feel like there's this growing movement online of the humans are actually justified in what they're doing, and you know, help me out from a moral philosophical perspective, right? If your species is dying out, do you not have a right to do whatever it takes to try and keep it alive, even if it means potentially invading other species' planets? Because like you have at least a right to survival or to attempt it. And if you turn out to be technologically and you know, militarily more advanced than them, you become the conquering species that ultimately thrives and they die out. Like that's
it's
as far as I know, that's just the way
problems. The previous two movies had this problem as well, and the reason the problem comes up is because these movies are just filled with stock tropes. Essentially, James Cameron throws in the evil corporate side of things because every other one of his movies has an evil corporation, so this one can have one too. But the problem, it never actually addresses the moral stakes of a civilization from a dying planet needing somewhere to live. It's not interested in that side of things. It's just, oh, we're being mean to the whales, and that makes us evil. Also, though, we're all dying out per the rules of your movie. James, you can't just copy and paste tropes from your other films, stick them into this one, and expect it all to work. You have to figure some of this out. Give us a point of view. What is the moral worth of humans expanding? Are the Smurf terrorists right to try and stop us? You know, is there not an argument that humans should be allowed at least to take over part of Pandora, given that the Smurfs have done absolutely nothing with their civilization? And everyone hates hippies, so screw them. It's just, it's so uninterested in its own premise that it becomes incredibly frustrating. And then, like, the longer it goes on, the worse it gets, because there's always another MacGuffin that we need to find to save humanity. We have to be evil to go and get it. Oh dear, but it will save our lives. But the movie doesn't mention it. And it's like, there's no interest in this story from the people who are making this story. It's really quite depressing to see three of these back to back.
It's sad. There are no concepts, sci-fi concepts introduced that make you think about the movie after at all. And the best science fiction is you talk about it, you think about it, it resonates with people where you can have a discussion. It's just like I said, Swiss Family Pandora is this movie. A light family adventure for 3 hours and 17 minutes.
That is brutal.
It feels long. There's a good hour that could be cut easily. You would lose no story points at all. Nothing. And they really do lean into the religion of the, you know, the Na'vi and the whole Awa, and the planet is like effectively an internet where you can download your consciousness. It's like heaven. You can go visit your ancestors. It's kind of stupid.
You can non-consensually fornicate with animals to control them and ride them around as like tanks as well. That's great.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Why did he
plug
do
your
that?
USB connector into them and away you go? Apparently,
Yeah.
Cameron didn't need to do that, but he did. He established that that's how it worked. And I don't know why.
It's dumb.
Yeah. Just before we go on, I want to try and get some super chats answered here, because there's been a bunch coming in while we've been talking here. Yeah, Pac-Man says the problem for Marvel in trying to pivot from the MCU, don't worry, we'll talk about that shortly, is that turning the ship after you've hit the iceberg doesn't rid you of all the water that you've already taken on that's sinking you. Oh yes, you are very right, sir, and we will talk about that soon. Robbo says, really hope James Cameron makes his Hiroshima film next. He made a pledge and got the blessing from the guy who survived both A-bombs, so we'd be a bit cowardly, uninspired move to prioritize the next half decade to Avatar 4 and 5. He got his trilogy, congrats, but time for a change. I mean, James Cameron is like, what, 71, 72 now? So
Yeah.
I hate to say this, like Avatar is probably going to consume the remainder of his life and, well, at least his career as a filmmaker, and then he'll probably retire.
I mean, if they
He's getting
said,
on
you know,
a bit now.
let's say with the third one, he was done with Avatar and he's going to make an original film next, I wouldn't exactly be excited. Be like, I don't know, I've seen what stories you tell now, bro.
Yeah, it's like you haven't made a relevant film in like 20 years, and it's like, yeah, it's not easy to get back into it. This is one from one of my mods. It's Melvin, who says, MauLer,
Yeah.
you think you made a 17-hour video about a crap video game, but it's more like an expert guide on how to never get laid. Never before have so many Welsh gals turned celibate and bought a pet cat.
I clearly you don't know the Welsh women, all right? They love a good 17.5-hour video on Star Wars Outlaws.
What's this? Otam says, hey MauLer, do you think Random would enjoy streaming Aliens vs. Predator from 2010? Also, hi Drinker, cheers.
Yeah, probably. It's a bit of fun.
That's the one where you play as an alien, a predator, or a human?
Yeah, but there's other ones that do that. That one is okay, I think. I think even the general fan base likes that one as well, even though it's a bit more modern. It's 2010, that one, I think, right? They said, yeah.
Okay, so that's way after the films. Okay, interesting.
This one here, Daniel Renval says, greetings, Drinker, MauLer, and panel. Today is 1 year since I lost my wife to cancer, and I want to thank you all for what you do. The open bar has been something that has helped me a lot, so thank you and have a drink on me. Well, thank you very much, man. And, you know, my sincere condolences from myself and everyone else on the bar for your loss.
Yeah.
And sincerely, fuck cancer. Yeah, I'm sorry, man. Next one here is from Radriel, says, greetings. In light of the failure of Netflix's The Witcher, I've decided to publish my solo film project, Witcher School of the Wolf. Would you be kind as to give it at least the trailer a shot? We could take a look at that. But yeah, one way or another, congratulations for putting this out there and getting that done, because yeah, The Witcher did kind of fail. So yeah, I don't think anyone's excited for the next season of it.
There's another one, and they're not done yet.
They got one more, apparently.
God.
They filmed them back to back, so it's already in the can. No one cares anymore, but you know, it's still happening. Hello, Bar. MauLer, congrats on the vid. Can't help but notice music from Nier Automata. I never get that right. Goated game and music. Y'all need to play it if you haven't. Question for the Bar. What's a game that left y'all in deep thoughts?
Soma. Also, thank you.
Death Stranding.
Oh, interesting one.
It's an interesting one. I haven't finished
Last of Us 2.
Yeah,
all
for
the
all
wrong
the wrong
reasons.
BioShock, probably. That gave me a lot of things to think about. But yeah. Watched after, what's this? AE this
Alien
weekend.
Earth?
Oh,
Alien
no,
Earth, yeah.
Really? I think it would have been so much better if it didn't feature Alien. Like everything could stay the same. Setting, Prodigy, Weyland-Yutani, etc. But just replace Alien with some similar monster. Yeah, but it would still be retarded and all the characters would be idiots and it would just be horrible.
Agreed.
The benefit of doing that would be that it doesn't feel like the show is taking a shit on something that you already love, though. It would just be like, well, this is forgettable, bad sci-fi, like whatever. But yeah, it would be less hateable for sure.
I try to apply that same criteria to Predator Badlands and say, like, well, if you just take the Predator connections out of it and just say, well, this is sort of a generic sci-fi adventure story in space, maybe it works from that regard if you don't like think about it too much. But like the fact that it's a Predator movie just absolutely pulls it down like several points.
I mean, yeah, it's that continuity. I guess I would concede they improve, but they're still crap as far as I'm concerned, both of them.
Yeah. What's this one here? Hail the gods and drunkards. MauLer, you need to say, do it, kill her in every vid.
I mean, I managed to get it into the Outlaws one.
You did, yeah, I've heard that bit. Drinker, never getting rid of dancing as. This keeps me going through the week, and someone feed Nancy from Stranger Things 5 before Cynthia gets her. I suppose we should bring that up, actually. We've some of us here have seen Stranger Things season 5. or at least the first volume of it, because we're splitting it up into volumes now. Yeah, how are you feeling so far, just in broad strokes, about the season so far?
Supremely unimpressed.
Yeah, I figured
I was told it was neat by several people. It was not neat.
It wasn't neat or tidy. They came back, they came back pretty strong with season 4, and it seemed like, okay, they know where they're going. They've set up the end of the world scenario. It's all coming to this big climactic battle, and then they just immediately walk it back with that first episode. And it's like, everything's kind of back to your usual formula.
How'd you feel about them putting the metal plates over the? That was funny.
This isn't just like say it was even just a physical tear in the ground, like, I don't know, a continental plate had opened up or a volcano erupted or something. Like, putting metal plates over it is not going to fix it or make it go away. But this is a tear in the fabric of reality itself into another dimension. It doesn't matter if you put steel plates over it; it's not going to hold it together. Yeah, that was absurd.
So bad, dude. It's the classic. They were like, this is going to be amazing and it'll be a problem we'll solve next time. And they get to next time, like, oh fuck. Seal it up.
Yeah, they walked, because what they wanted was to go back to the usual formula of like the military doing like skullduggery in the background, our groovy gang who are like spying on them and like trying to do clandestine little missions by themselves, and Vecna and the Demigorgons and all that stuff who are like going to undermine all of it. But it's like, why set up that big climactic showdown at the end of the last season if you're not going to do anything with it and you're just going to walk it all back?
I think, like MauLer said, it looked cool. It was a really cool ending visual. It makes people really excited for the next season. And like, the common theme because I'm rewatching all the Stranger Things stuff and most of the stuff they'd done beforehand as well, common theme is the complete lack of a plan. Like, they jump from scene to scene almost by accident. Half the characters they introduce are intended to die in like 2 episodes, and they only keep them because they like the actors. They have no idea where the story is going. They do things because it's superficially interesting or it looks exciting, and then they sort of try very clumsily to backfill all of the problems later, and very rarely does that succeed. It's kind of surprising that they get all the way to the 5th season of basically Netflix's biggest show without any idea of how they got there. No intent to plan forward. They've reset themselves at least twice. I think season 3, which was pretty awful, was an attempt to swing in one direction, was awful, so they swung back in a different direction, gave us season 4, is an improvement. Lots of problems remain, though. And then they got to the end of season 4 and thought, oh shit, we sort of got ahead of ourselves, so let's row back again so we can go back to inexplicably the town, which is now surrounded by the military and under full quarantine, doesn't seem to understand that that's the position it's in. Nobody reacts to the fact that the hell basically burst out into their world at the end of the previous season, but now they're all back sitting around having nice family dinners. All the conversations that have happened so far in season 5 are every Stranger Things conversation between these characters that's ever happened. It's just relationship drama between Nancy, Jonathan, and Steve. It's Dustin and Steve having little arguments over tech. It's Hopper telling Eleven that she reminds him of his dead daughter.
Oh, yeah.
It's just over and over and over again. And I get the long gaps between seasons might make it seem less repetitive. But if you do actually watch these things back to back, it's unbelievable how little they've advanced across, 4 1/3 of a season at this point. They've had 8, 12, 15, 16, 18, 20 plus hours of television for these characters to still be in the position they're in season 5. It's such a waste, especially considering how good season 1 was.
I think for me, the most unbelievable aspect of this whole thing is they expect us to believe that only 4 years have elapsed between season 1 and season 5. Because season 1 takes place in 1983 and this is 1987. And it's
That's insane.
Your actors have clearly aged 10 years in that time, very obviously in a lot of cases. And it's this would have been a good opportunity to jump it forward several years and at least try to account for that massive change in the actors. But nope, they're just doing business as usual. It's weird. It's you remember in the Bond movies, remember how Roger Moore was 60 years old or something when he did his last Bond movie? And rather than play up to the fact that he was getting old, it was just him doing his usual thing. Just every time he had to do anything physical, it was a stuntman who did it, and he was still seducing women who were 1/3 of his age. and it just it went from being silly to like actually uncomfortable and weird. That's kind of what they've done with this show. You know, instead of like accounting for it and leaning into the time that's passed, it's just all business as usual, and you're supposed to kind of ignore it. It does not work.
Well, they could have introduced an element where they aged 10 years to explain reality. But look, a quick comment and then I have a question. But I only watched season 1, which I thought was really fun.
Mhm.
I enjoyed it for what it was. I'm good. I started watching season 2 and just fell off. Didn't care. I really like this weird character of Barb. Does anyone remember Barb?
Yes.
Justice for
mean,
Barb.
Justice for Barb. I'll share for those that don't recall. Here's a screenshot of Barb.
She was just like, she
memory.
became a meme that grew way beyond what she was supposed to be.
I have a Barb from Stranger Things beach towel that was sent to me from Loot Crate. I still have it. All I'm saying is weird thing. So in season 1, you've got the character that disappears. Why can't I think of his name?
Will.
Oh, Will.
Disappears. Everyone rallies. Where's Will? Barb disappears. Crickets. No one gives
so
a shit.
what you're describing is that's actually what happened. The fan base were really happy with Stranger Things, but they all complained about the Barb. They fucked up with Barb. So season 2 overcompensates like crazy.
Oh God, yeah.
They have a full plot line devoted to Barb, and at the end of the season, they have a funeral, and they basically apologize to the fucking screen for messing up the Barb plotline in season 1, and it's really bad.
Oh my God!
I
And
quite
so-
hate
Worry,
season
they
2.
replicate those mistakes in this season as well with like
They do it a
Nancy's
lot.
parents, where it's like the dad gets like his guts ripped out and like no one cares, but like the mom, same thing happens to her, and like it's this like massive catastrophe that everyone's really caught up about.
You can tell the show has someone it cares about more out of those two, you know? And it's funny to have a Demogorgon take on basically an army of soldiers and fuck them all up, but a woman with a wine bottle manages to like...
I was losing my mind at that point. I was like, because they've never really understood, they've never settled on a like power level for the Demogorgon. Like, as you say, on the one hand, it can decimate an entire platoon of soldiers armed with assault rifles that are just pummeling it with lead. Whereas, like, and it shrugs it off as if it's nothing. But then a woman with a broken wine bottle can stop it dead in its tracks, and like actually like hold it off.
The one thing they
And it's
did
like,
establish,
well,
the only thing they've established, is that it's weak to fire. They've known it's weak to fire since season 1. The government's known it's weak to fire since season 2 because they have a whole team of scientists not doing anything else except burning it. And yet, in none of the subsequent seasons does anyone remember that this is the case until there's like the action scene calls for it, in which case a character with a flamethrower is allowed to walk onto the scene and briefly get a victory.
That's even after like 5 minutes of their wanna, where they're clearly like self-indulgent reference to they've said it was inspired by Children of Men, and it's just like I don't know where to begin with how Children of Men is doing something very different to a bunch of CG creatures jump around and everyone goes, it's not quite the same achievement. But they spend that whole sequence, even though they had some prep time, they knew something was going to be happening, and they're in their base. It's like, where's the fire, guys? There's no fire. And then some dude comes out, he's like, I have the flamethrower, and it kills everything temporarily. I was like, oh, probably should have opened with that.
There's a lot of retarded stuff in that scene. Is like a bunch of soldiers standing in a circle around the Demogorgon, all firing at it. Like, do you understand how many of those guys are going to get killed by friendly fire doing stuff like that? Not every round is going to hit.
None of them have any plans. They don't have any traps. They can see where the monsters are coming from for a good like minute, and they don't plan anything.
Yeah, but yeah, it's stuff like that. And as Platoon was saying, like there's a lot of characters that are just stuck in a holding pattern, just recycling the same character arcs. You know, and it pains me to say this. The scriptwriters have never done anything interesting with Steve in years. Like, he's there because he's popular and everyone likes the actor and he's a cool character, but they've never done anything interesting with him.
They've never known what to do with him.
They don't know. He's one of the ones who was supposed to die. They were going to kill him. And then they decided they liked Joe Keery, the actor, a lot, so they kept him. But then the only thing he has left to do, season 2, he replays essentially the arc with Nancy where they're together and then they're not together.
Bad.
But then from that point onwards, he's there for comic relief with Dustin. Every now and then he'll get a scene which kind of implies he's maybe had a bit of maturity added to his character, but then the show never acknowledges it, and then he's back to being the goofball babysitter with a baseball bat. It's just
and I love what they did with him in the first season. Like, that was a really interesting turn with his character, where he's like this almost jock character who seems to be shallow and self-absorbed, and you think he's almost going to be an antagonist or just going to get killed off easily. And he actually turns out to be this really decent guy. He's willing to fight for people that he barely knows.
Record, Steve did nothing wrong in season 1.
Nope.
I will defend the shit out of him. When you have a creeper taking photos of your girlfriend getting undressed, and all you do is break his camera, he's fucking lucky that's all that's happened.
Yeah,
and then she starts dating the creeper.
Yeah, but the show tries to present him in that way, and it's like it would be easy for him to fall into that stereotype of just being the possessive boyfriend or whatever who end up killed by the monster. They go a different route, and it's really interesting, and I like what they did there. But yeah, by the later seasons, he's essentially just like a caricature of his former self, and he's just there because he's a fan favorite, and that's it. And it's the same with Robin. Like, I don't understand why that fucking character is still in it. The show doesn't know what to do with her. Maya Hawke, her performance is like nails
She's
on a
so
chalkboard.
Funny. Aren't you laughing at everything she says? She's so funny. She's so funny and silly.
But it's like they took a really shit actress and just told her, like, act quirky, be like socially awkward and a bit a bit unusual. That's all she's got. Like, there's nothing to her, but like she gets so much screen time, and I don't understand why.
Did you love, in a room full of like Korea nerds, she references The Great Escape and none of them know what she's talking about?
Mm-hmm.
It was amazing.
I was like, okay, this is getting to be too much for me. I know this movie. She knows all the actors and the characters. None of them. They're all like, "Huh, Great Escape."
I was already annoyed at the premise. Oh, great! Another scene where someone says, "Hey, it's kind of like this movie," and then just by luck, it happens to be exactly like this movie, or like every other Stranger Things exposition scene. But then, yeah, the fact that none of them actually have seen that movie is just so you can't even be bothered to keep people in character for your formulaic exposition scenes anymore. But the caricature problem is basically true across the board. Season 1 is really, really well done because evidently they did have a lot of time to plan it. And, they create all of these characters with a few different backstory elements, and every backstory element is designed to play off somebody else's backstory element. So Hopper having lost a kid, being thrust into a position where he has to save someone's kid. Implied backstory with Joyce. Joyce has implied history of mental instability, so nobody trusts her. Like, all of this stuff is incredibly dynamic, and because it's really well focused, there's only like the first act, you have the A plot and the B plot, and I think there's a C plot. But then by the second act, they've all coalesced and everyone's always oriented in roughly the same direction. It allows all of these really interesting characters to play off each other in fascinating ways. It's what makes Hawkins feel so alive in season 1. They seem to have just not been able to develop a single one. I can't actually name a character who's meaningfully developed in a positive way. Plenty of them have diminished.
Yeah. If I see the fucking flashback of Hopper's daughter dying one more time, I kill myself.
God.
I've seen that 7 times at this point. It's ridiculous.
They're milking that shit for all it's worth, aren't they?
It's the same clips every time because they don't have any more clips.
Yeah. And David Harbour is too fucking old now to play those flashback sequences, so that's what they've
it's
got.
sad as well. I was watching some of the behind the scenes making of stuff from season 2, and there's an interview clip with him, season 2, where he says he's still enjoying the character he's got. What he doesn't want is for Hopper to turn into sort of just this fat comic relief joke dad. Oh dear. Oh, I'm so sorry.
I mean, because they pulled that back a little bit in season 4, but then like, he's gone way back into it in this season. Like, he's constantly doesn't understand anything. Like, people have to explain things to him in like one syllable words so he can understand. He's perplexed by the idea that guns eventually run out of ammo and have to get reloaded. And this is a Vietnam veteran, by the way. Like, they make a real point of referencing that. He's an idiot. And they've made him a fucking idiot in this show again because that's the role he needs to fill, I guess. But
season 3 was the worst of it, man. He was a full-on clown in season 3.
Yeah, he was, yeah.
I have a question. Since I didn't watch any of this current season, and my question is there gay shit? It seems like
there's a lot of it.
Okay, everything Netflix starts out like, oh, this is interesting, and they introduce some gay character out of nowhere. It seems really shoehorned in. So
Actually,
does that
so
happen?
If
it does
Robin,
happen. I wouldn't say it's so Robin's kind of shoehorned in.
Right.
Will's a little bit different and was, I think, more interesting. Like Will, when I think it's season 4 is when it comes out, and it's like comes out, huh? But it was sort of at the actor's instigation because the actor had come out by that point, and they realized that actually they could work this in as a character point. But I didn't mind the way that was delivered in season 4 because they didn't turn it into this massively cliche, fabulous sparkles and rainbows, like, yeah, fabulous piece of gay propaganda stuff. Like, it was quite feelingly done. It's quite tragic and sad and poignant as opposed to generically celebratory and glad handing and all the rest of it. I liked what they did with it when they did do it in season 4. The slight problem is that season 5, because none of the other characters have any equivalent development, that's kind of the only thing that's going on. And then when spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen it yet, but when he decides now that he has superpowers, it's like, oh, okay.
Which was all allegorical for like believing in yourself. Which, by the way,
he's basically told to have the confidence to come out, and then that gets
it's
him
weak
the
to me
superpowers.
to have such an incredibly important plot discussion between two characters that mean everything now to each other when they properly talk to each other. What, episode 2? It's like, this is of this season. I mean, like, if they had built this up instead of doing it the way the Duffers do everything, which is, hey, wouldn't this be cool? Let's put it in. Like, spontaneously every single episode, they just randomly go, hey, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. It's like, you guys could have planned a little bit. Just a little bit.
Yeah, because I think Will is another character that suffered from the whole, like, we don't know what to do with this guy phenomenon in the show. And, like, they've obviously been building up to something with him. And as Platoon said, like, I kind of like the fact that he feels so isolated from his friends now that they're all, they've all become teenagers, and, like, they're very much interested in girls. He's not. He doesn't understand it necessarily, and he feels like completely isolated from them, and that's why a lot of his emotion comes out that way, which I think is quite well handled. But yeah, it feels like they've tried to then transition that into a whole, you can finally access your true superpowers as long as you just, like, accept who you are. It's a little bit corny, and it just feels like they're trying to make something of that didn't really exist before.
Or
with him.
Didn't exist with that. It didn't need that level of highlighting. It works partly in season 4 because it is quite realistic, and it is quite, I would say, tragic. And the tragedy is kind of the realism, is sort of when you grow up and you sort of realize that your best friend in this case can't possibly return the feelings that you are developing for them, and it's, it's sad and quite relatable. I like the way they did it. But season 4 has the advantage of a lot of other things also going on, which are quite important to keep in mind. Characters are moving, big stakes are being introduced. It's not being shoved in your face as the only thing to pay attention to, because it's in quite a dynamic season. Will benefited from quite a lot of that. I mean, even in season 3, one of the few half-decent things they did was be able to use his complete lack of character development from the first 2 seasons as a character point in season 3, because he spent all of his childhood being possessed by demons. He didn't go through the childhood that they went through, so he's feeling slightly isolated as they've all grown up and grown away, and he's stuck on his own. All of that was, I liked it, and I think they were taking Will in fairly interesting directions as a side character, but they lacked any other characters to be the main character, and so the focus naturally gets dragged back to him. And then the payoff is just this very, very cliche, oh, you can be fabulous if you just believe in yourself. I have the powers now. Maybe they'll do something better with it in the subsequent half of the season. I just don't see it happening. But I don't think it's a fault in the writing of Will so much as it is a fault in the writing of basically everything else in the show.
Are you guys excited? I should ask this as well. Like, am I nuts, or is, like, Erica the most annoying fucking character in the show?
I hate her. She's so annoying.
It's not just me then.
I love Derek. For the few even seconds, I was already like, this guy's funny.
He's all right,
I'm liking it. You can tell that Erica is protected by the Duffers in the same way that George R. R. Martin protected Arya. She, like, says something he basically says, like, shut the fuck up, like, bitch, to people, even though he's, fucking 7 or something. It's really funny. But she says some shit to him, and then he, like, shuts up. And I was like, it's because he's not allowed to say anything back to her. Even though I think it would just improve the show if he said it to everyone, because he's like a poorly raised child, Like, I thought a lot of his lines were actually kind of funny. They kept me interested in some of the scenes, just seeing this insane child just shouting at people and stuff. But There's a couple of things that were like somewhat entertaining, but just keep getting reminded of all of the Duffer tropes. And one of them, the major one to me, is just the plot armor is fucking insane at this point. And I've seen that they've said their fans have a bloodlust and they don't like it. They don't want to kill characters, but every one of their fans is like, oh, we want to kill characters. I was like, you've created a world where there are constant murder zombie demons just coming through the fucking walls to kill people, and no one dies except nameless people. It's like, why do you think? It's not like everyone has a bloodlust when they watch Friends. Like, oh, they need to kill
don't know,
more
I
people on
do.
this show.
Well, yeah.
I mean, current company excluded. But I just mean that, like, you've made a show where the stakes are as high as possible. Everything's collapsing. It's the end of the world. Demons killing people in their dreams. And you're just like, man, people want more deaths. Like, no, they want more consequences, dude. It's so annoying that everyone just keeps getting away with it. It's lame.
And they keep
Max is
baiting
a
them
good
as well. The number of bait and switch deaths. I mean, Harper has a good couple of those at least in the last two
Yeah.
seasons.
They
It's
did it
like,
again.
yeah, did it again. And then the parents as well in season 4. It's like you can't lament people's bloodlust, then tease their bloodlust by having fake out deaths, and then expect them to be satisfied by the end of it. And of course, everybody knows at this point as well, if you're going to introduce a nice new character, that you're just going to kill them to keep everybody else safe.
Yeah.
Then you have to go and put your main cast in danger, but you know they're not going to die because we know what your formula is now. It's just too obvious.
So season 1 was Bob. Season 2 was Bob Newby. I'm still mad about that. They created a character to
He
be
was a
very
good guy.
he created the most nicest, perfect man ever to kill him. That was the only like story purpose he had. Season 3 was Russian dude, and then season 4 was Eddie, and now season 5. I mean, I guess we'll just have to see what happens.
I think it's going to be Will.
Could
I'm not sure
be.
they have the balls to kill anybody. They are
Well,
embarrassing when it comes to this shit.
It's
The-
the
the
final.
list I
It's the
just
final
gave-
season. They're going to have to kill some people.
The list I just gave are all characters that are invented on the season that they die in. That's like the Duffers trying to slip by, being like, "See, we'll kill people." It's like, no, you won't.
Nope.
You still don't have the ball. Dude, the shit with Max, it killed all of my assumption that they have the balls to kill any main characters.
That I'm still annoyed about that because like season 4 did the impossible and made me like Max again, and
Yeah.
then it's like, okay, I feel like she's run her course now. Like the character's reached the end of her arc. She should probably have a poignant, meaningful death. And it's like, no, we're gonna save her at the last second, and now she's a fucking ghost in Vecna's head or something, and she's gonna come back. Of course she is. And we're gonna have to listen to that fucking Kate Bush song
Which
again.
is so annoying
they've
because
been
that
spamming
scene
that.
was really effective in season 4, and then they looked at it.
Yeah.
Oh, people really like that, so we'll just keep doing it. I think you've missed what made it effective in season 4. It really worked then. Doesn't mean it's going to work when you do it 5 times this time. And then even then, just the implausibility of like, so she's obviously in this coma, and Lucas is at her bedside playing the song, and she finds the portal again. We're just replaying a beat. And then she just sort of stands there looking at it, thinking, oh, goodness, isn't it nice that he's playing the song for me? I'm just going to slowly walk over to this portal out of my nightmare. And then, oh, no, she runs out of time. And it's one of those moments that makes you think, I think they're trying to just subtly wreck on a decision from the previous season. I think that they've realized that it would have been way better if they'd maybe saved that entire beat for this season. And so then they're just trying to do it again. And they always do this when they are very keenly aware of what the fans say they like. And whenever the fans say they like a thing, they just chuck it into their show, whether it fits the story or not. Barb being like the best example of that. But the running up their hill beats being another very good example of that. They're slowly, not slowly. They are already self-parodying, which is quite disappointing.
They've been doing penance for Bob indefinitely. The fact that she showed up in season 4 as well, like she has that nightmare sequence. She sees Bob's corpse. I just started laughing. I was like, guys, you can move on now. You made the mistake. You could move on.
It's time to let go.
Like the lack of deaths and the lack of I've only seen season 1, but them sort of pandering to the audience and not having consequences and not having major character deaths just reminded me that I saw that apparently season 5 is going to have multiple endings. Did you guys see?
I've heard about this. Yeah,
I
and
thought
it's
that
going to
was
be
a
randomly
fake
generated.
story. I
depending
think-
on, like,
I thought that was a discussing fish post.
Yeah, I
where
think
he
that was
fucking around.
like a fake news thing.
If it's fake news, then fair enough. I saw it on IMDb, so I assumed that it wasn't. But
I was
The
going
meme
to ask
everyone's
you.
concerned about is that it'll all turn out to be in Mike's head, like he's in hospital or something, and it was never, and none of it was real.
Well, I mean, I was going to ask you guys, like, when it comes to the ending, like, it feels like Stranger Things is the only thing we've had in recent years, and it might be the last thing that we ever have, potentially, that feels like a a TV event. Like the final episode is going to be a thing that people watch and that people talk about, for better or worse. And it might not be that we get many other shows that capture that same sense of, I don't know, like audience anticipation. I guess, like, in that, at least, does that make it significant because it's been such a long journey? I mean, this is almost like a multi-generational show now. Like, it's been going for a decade, or the better part of a decade now.
But
I mean, part of
also-
that's because of how long it takes for them to film it. Like, it's the same as like the Avatar point. You know, back when the first Avatar came out, and honestly, when Stranger Things started coming out, like seasons 1 and 2 were separated by 1 year. And then after that, it was like 2, and now we're at 3 years for seasons 4 and 5. So the people who were used to, like, you know, watching like something like Breaking Bad or whatever when that was coming out, or Game of Thrones, you know, it was a big deal when Game of Thrones season 8 was the final one, when that was going to take 2 years and not 1. Whereas now it's kind of normalized. Shows like Stranger Things and Game of Thrones, I guess, have kind of normalized this idea of taking years to release one single season. So it just means, I mean, The Boys is doing the same thing. Rings of Power is doing the same thing. And I feel like part of the reason why is because like TV show productions are now so ridiculously huge with post-production and visual effects and all the rest of it, that they're more comparable to movies. And you essentially can't make them quicker.
Well,
I think that's definitely... Sorry.
Well, I mean, you can make them a little bit quicker if you do what they did do in season 1 and to a degree season 2 as well. They said in sort of their making of behind the scenes interview stuff, they had the budget to do more green screen than they did, but they really wanted everything to be practical. They wanted it to feel real. They wanted it to be sort of slightly claustrophobic, small scale, so that the actual real drama, which is the characters, aren't lost in the midst of a huge CGI panorama. That was a very good sensibility, and it kept the budget relatively low, and it made for a quite quick production process, which is why season 2 comes out relatively soon after season 1. It's only when they get the subsequent season orders, when they are basically told by Netflix, this is event television now, you are going to have cinematic budgets and we want cinematic scale, that they start leaning fully into kind of the worst tropes of modern movie making. Just like, why does this scene need CGI? No. Let's put some in anyway. Okay. So then it's going to take another 3 years and several $100 million. I think the budget for season 5 is supposed to be in the $200-300 million range. It's absurd for what it is.
It's a movie, so it is movie level. And like when you look back to season 1, like things like the Demigorgon really didn't make an appearance until quite late in the season. Like you didn't really see much of it. It was just this, like, you saw sometimes from its perspective, and then someone would get grabbed and like killed or whatever, and that was it. And it was effective. It was the horror trope of like less is more, which is great. Now it's just like they're constantly there. It's like a Marvel movie essentially with the world of Stranger Things. Like they're having these big pitched battles against these monsters, and it's like the more we see of them, the less interesting and the less scary they are.
The show would be completely different if they knew they had 5 seasons at the beginning and wrote out like a some kind of structure ahead of time. Because season 1 is all about the Demogorgon, and the Upside Down is strange. What is it? Who knows? Season 2 is the Demo Dogs. It's like, what's that about? It's like, not really sure. Upside Down still spooky.
They fairly killed off that concept, didn't they, after season 2?
Well, and then season 3 is like the Mind Flayer. Ooh, you're like, oh, what's that do? Then he turns into the giant rat flesh monster in the mall, which was just like, what in the hell is going on? Season 4 brings in Vecna. It's like, oh, okay, better. We can focus now. And they do like the Elm Street shit and the clock and the editing, the acting, the storyline. Everything's way more focused again in season 4. And you're like, oh, they're telling a story again. And season 5 so far has just been like, I think they're just trying to end it now.
But the thing is, if you had like a normal sort of 2010s era schedule for making a TV show, then if you had a show like Stranger Things, where you got season 1, okay, it hooks people, 2 and 3 are Blair, and then 4 is like, okay, this is actually, pretty good. That would happen in your 4th year of production. Whereas season 4 of Stranger Things didn't happen until what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, its 8th year, I think it was.
Yeah.
And that really just means that it ends up taking shows so much longer than it used to become these big event things like what Game of Thrones ended up being, which I think is why it feels like there are so much less of them. Like Netflix has Stranger Things, I don't know what its number 2 would be, but it's got Stranger Things as like its tentpole show. Disney has whatever it's doing with Star Wars and Marvel. Amazon has Rings of Power, arguably, and I guess it's got The Boys. Like, what else is there that really fills this gap of like long-running, big, epic TV shows?
Yeah. Well, and once this is gone, like I don't think we're going to have anything really. No one's going to get excited for Rings of Power. No one's going to get excited for The Boys anymore because that's reached the kind of like Walking Dead kind of level where it's split out into a million spin-off shows that no one cares about. So it's no longer a relevant cultural force, and so there's not much left. You know, Paramount Plus, you've got Star Trek. No one cares about that anymore. It's a dead franchise. You've got all the shows from like Taylor Sheridan, which, you know, they're successful to a degree, but they're not like major cultural forces or anything. They're not event TV. Yeah. And then Apple TV are very much like siloed off into their own little world. They make good stuff a lot of the time, but like again, it's not the sort of thing that like really captures the zeitgeist. So yeah, this could be the last thing that people genuinely get caught up in.
You know, it's kind of interesting as well as a comparison of the eras. It used to be, or at least when people reference an older TV show, they'll be like, oh, season 3 plus is where it really kicks in and it gets fucking great. And you're like, oh, cool. If it's like a longer one, an older one. These days it's more so, do they manage to maintain the quality of season 1 ever? It's just like, rarely. Because you're hooked in and then they're told to make the same thing but way faster. And then it just doesn't work out. I say that ironically with Stranger Things, because Stranger Things season 2 was done in a year, right? I think that the turnaround on that was faster.
I think so.
Yes, it was 16, 17, 19, and then it was 3 years for the next ones.
And it was so obvious they did not know what the fuck they were doing. I'm even pretty convinced that season 1, when they filmed it, even was like, this is going to be a locked in, you know, self-contained season.
I think they've confirmed as much. Yeah.
And then you get that time skip. And then they do their cliffhangers, and they're very arbitrary. It's just like, it's not over yet, boys. And you're like, okay.
Right. I mean, straight away, like with season 2, you got the worst tendencies of the Duffer Brothers, where it's like, well, 11 didn't die after all, and like now she's back, and
it's the exact same shit as Max. She self-vaporized into the Upside Down. You're like, oh, well, at least the consequences will be she's stuck there. It's like, no, she gets out straight away. You're like,
what was the point of that?
Yeah. What the fuck was the point of that? Like, what?
And they have her get out straight away so she can spend the first half of that season stuck in a cabin doing basically nothing.
Remember the one like dramatically interesting moment in season 3 was when Hopper sacrifices himself right at the end, and then boom, he's fine. Turns out
how did he escape? Drink it? He jumped and he fell off a thing, and then he was fine.
He's fine.
But it's another of those examples they didn't know at the time. They've again confirmed as much. They had him. They wanted it to be done like it could be his death scene because they weren't sure if they wanted him to come back yet. Then they decided they did want him to come back. So boom, he's in Russia now. But they are filming the climaxes of their major seasons with no idea what the next season's going to be. And that's season 3. It's not like you can kind of forgive it it's their first big TV project. You can kind of forgive the inexperience between seasons 1 and 2 up to a point. When you get to the end of season 3 and you're like 6 years later, how do you end a show like that with such a big scene because you don't know what you're doing next, as opposed to this is where this is all leading? It will all make sense in the end because we've planned it. I don't think that they've really had a full plan even at the beginning of season 4. And now they're at the end.
And do you know about the whole, like, there's a play, a very major production that's got a whole storyline for characters like in the upper generation when they were teenagers in Hawkins, and it's all going to be tying into season 5.
And then, but even that was terribly planned because I watched the whole making of that as well, and there's a whole part where the writer, who is one of the writers from Stranger Things, was seconded to go and do the writing for this play. And then she turns out this really long, complicated script, and they put it into production. And then they get a phone call from the Duffer Brothers when they're in production. And the Duffers say, yeah, actually, no, we don't want you to use 80% of that because we now want to use that. That's just, it would be a nightmare to be in that position. But also, it speaks to how hectic their own planning process is.
Yeah.
And the play, the backstory for basically everyone is in there. So you've got Vecna, young Hopper, young Joyce, young Bob, I think. So now you know that they all know each other and they're all vaguely aware of each other, and they go on a huge, long, extremely convoluted plot line involving disappearing ships and all the rest of it. which never gets mentioned in the seasons where you meet those characters again because they hadn't thought of it at that point. So it's the play probably confuses more than it clarifies for all the backstory it adds.
It's another Duffers special where every season begins. You're like, all right, it's time for this character to get some work, right? And they're like, yeah, what? Hang on, we got 7 characters to introduce, and then we will get back to the ones we haven't done work for. And you're like, great. When I saw what's her name, Holly, getting loads of screen time, I was like, guys, you do not have time. We've got all these other people that you've done nothing for. Why is Winona Ryder in this show? Like, what's she doing there?
I'm not entirely convinced she's acting either. I think she's just playing Winona Ryder, like this slightly emotionally fragile middle-aged woman who's scared of everything.
She does such a great job in season 1. And ever since, they've kind of just been like, she's there, she's in a plot line, she's doing stuff. Look at her. She cares about her. She'll always have the designated I care about my son scene. It almost feels flanderized.
Yeah, well, she had it with when she stands up to the Demigorgon. She's just got like a fucking golf club or something.
Oh, man.
Yeah, but then like nothing actually happens with that because they get interrupted. The Demigorgon gets hit by a car.
Yeah, and
because we wouldn't want to put her in actual danger. That would be too much.
The payoff for that, or the emotional satisfaction of seeing her do that is it's the same basic idea as you get earlier with Karen standing up to the Demigorgon with a wine bottle. So it's not even as though it's the first time we can say, oh yes, this is the strong mother standing up for her kid. We've seen it. We've been there and we've done it. I mean, her character has nothing to do basically after season 1. That's the real problem. Like, she's really good in season 1 because her storyline is quite complex. So it's not only that her son has disappeared, but it's also that nobody around her trusts her. She's the only one who believes it. They all distrust her because of her mental instability. And Hopper doesn't want to be too close because of his dead daughter and also because of their past relationship. It's a multifaceted thing. Her ex-husband comes back. There's a real world threat trying to exploit her that she has to overcome. And then you get Winona Ryder with her full acting range on display because there are really multiple things going on that she's trying to deal with. But then by the time of season 2, everyone's on her side. So all she gets to do is complain at them for not being able to solve the problem. But you lose all of the really interesting, nuanced and multi-layered stuff to her character. And then after season 2, it's even worse, really, because she's got even less to do. Will isn't in danger anymore. So she's just there for moral support occasionally. It's really boring. Which is a real shame because she's really good in season 1.
Yeah. And it's a shame as well, like when we were mentioning Holly, I think the actress does a really good job with that role.
Do you know she's the third person to play that character now?
Yeah, I did notice. Yeah, the recast. But I think it was a good change in this case. But it's just like, they've introduced another new character. They've obviously got this insatiable drive to introduce like interesting new characters. But like if this show had gone on beyond season 5, they would have, again, nothing to do with her. They wouldn't know where to put her or anything, but she'd still be hanging around. She'd be part of the gang. So yeah, it's probably good that this is like the final season. But yeah, I don't want to labor it too long because I know we've kind of been on Stranger Things for a little while here. I was going to see if I could answer a few more super chats before we move on, actually. Cameron Perry's here saying, hello, panel. How would you guys say you've improved in your video making over the years? Also, it took me 3 days to finish your Outlaws video, MauLer, so thanks for that. You do have to take it in chunks. To be fair, it took MauLer a year to finish it, so, you know.
Yeah, and on that
better deal there.
Sort of topic, big thing for me has been like how sound works in these videos, when to fade things in and out, how to balance and mix is like something I'm tweaking all the time and trying to get better at so that you don't have like pops and jarring changes in sound. That's something I'm much better at than I was 5 years ago, whatever.
Yeah. I think for me, it's just like knowing when to cut away to like, say, even you just change the tone of a sentence or you're making a new point or whatever, just like to get a new clip in there, to get a new bit of footage that like signifies that transference of like moving on to a different subject or whatever. Like, cause sometimes if you let one thing bleed over into the next point you're making, it makes a really weird jarring visual effect for the viewer. So like stuff like that, it's small, but like it makes a big difference to the experience. I think that's probably what I've like learned slowly about editing.
Yeah. I mean, a big thing of it is just you make a thing, you see people reacting to it, you see it, and then you're like, I'm going to do this next time. And then you do it and you're like, oh, that worked better. And now it's what you do. Yeah.
Normal Man says, somehow Melvin, the brother of the Joker, has returned. Didn't he just?
It's iconic.
I've yet to see any of you guys talk about Welcome to Derry. It's well acted, well written, and it felt fresh. The 60s period piece is nice to revisit instead of the overplayed 80s nostalgia. I don't know why, right? I just have never felt compelled to watch Welcome to Derry. Maybe it's because I felt chapter 2 was really shit and a total letdown, and I don't want to go back to that world again.
I've heard a couple people say it's not very good. A couple people I trust, so I'm not sure about testing it out just yet.
Yeah. Anyone else seen it?
Nope.
I saw the first few episodes. It was okay, but you could see where it's going. So I kind of stopped. But listening to you guys talk about Stranger Things, I feel I made the right choice. After season 1, I'm good.
There's an episode in season 4 that's worth seeing. But other than
I've heard, but I feel I made the right choice.
I think honestly you could just watch season 1 and get a really nice complete story and just like, they did a good job with that. I like that. I like what they did there.
1 is fine. I've been recommended 4 a whole bunch of times, but I just cannot be bothered to watch through 2 and 3 if they're really
You don't
bad.
have to. You don't actually have to. If you have a friend who can just get you the cliff notes, you'll be fine.
Okay. That's a maybe then.
We can do it for you, Random. We're your friends.
Oh, that might work.
You can trust us. I recently lost my father. We saw some classics together like Schindler's List and some clunkers like Batman and Robin. Like, goddamn, that's the full breadth of the human experience.
That's
right
watching them back to back.
Yeah, please raise a glass to him. So I will actually do that. So cheers to your father, my friend.
Absolutely, yeah.
What is the best and worst you've seen with a parent? Probably anything with like major sex scenes in it. I remember watching Sin City with my dad and feeling super fucking awkward watching that. You'll know the scenes that I'm talking about.
I've mentioned it before, but 300 came out 2006, so I was 13. Full family went to see that, and there's quite a slow motion sex scene in it that lasts a decent amount of time, and I remember just being like, "Oh shit!" I think I suggested.
I think my favorite with my dad was probably Aliens or Predator. I think I had an absolute blast with both of them the first time I watched them, and I think he was getting a lot of enjoyment out of like my reactions to them.
For sure,
I was super young when I saw it, and like watching them shooting at the Predator, or like watching the alien queen suddenly show up, being like, "Oh fuck, I didn't expect that."
I think it's every dad's dream to watch his son enjoy Predator, right? Like all the scenes in there. Because I can't remember if it was the same day, but me and my dad showed me Aliens and then Alien 3, so that's a good sort of jarring, like, woohoo, amazing too. What is this? What have you done? Why have you shown me this?
Yeah. What's this one here? You often see directors and writers who get worse and worse. Why do you think this is? Does imagination and skill have a shelf life, or is it lack of new inspiration or lack of a life outside of the job? That's a good point, actually, because, I do think like sometimes actors, directors, writers, they can become parodies of themselves eventually. And I don't know if it's just like they get too powerful in some cases and there's no one around to tell them no. Like George Lucas would probably be an example of that with the prequels. Cameron might even be an example of that with the Avatar movies. Or maybe like you lose a bit of that creative spark as you get older. You lose some of the drive, and you don't have that anymore. Like Ridley Scott maybe would be an example, or George R.R. Martin might be an example of like losing it. I don't know. Like until I'm 80 years old, I can't fully answer it for you.
I think it's sad that we have way more examples of greats becoming shit than we do shit people becoming pretty great. It sucks that it's not the reverse.
Question for the panel. You're each gifted a magic movie ticket, like in Last Action Hero. What's the first movie that you watch with it? Do you live in that world, or do you bring certain characters or objects into the real world? I'd probably go into like Euphoria or something and just kidnap Sydney Sweeney from it.
How old is she in even that show?
Actually, let's move that a little bit. Yeah. I don't know. What about you guys? What movie would you?
How does it work? I haven't seen The Last Action Hero.
So you can delve into the movie and essentially just be in it. And
probably Lord of the Rings, right? But like,
Lord of the Rings. Straight away, Lord of the Rings.
But would you though? Because you could get killed really easy in Lord of the Rings.
We can pick an era, right? So like, right as the film's ending, the Return of the King, I'll go there.
It's like everything's fixed now.
Yeah.
I mean, you could go to Lord of the Rings and take like a minigun with you or something, and you'd be fine. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that might have some bad if Saruman gets hold of that, then the Two Towers is going in a different direction. That's all I'll say.
Hey, we should go in at Fellowship and then warn them all of what's going to happen. Saruman's evil, guys. He's going to get you. He's turning trees into... It's horrible.
You could go to Boromir and say, look, this mission that you're going on with the ring, I wouldn't do it. Just sit this one out, bro.
We got to have him do it because he makes a difference, damn it. He holds them off for a little bit. It's important for his arc or something.
Can you take stuff into the movie with you, or is it just you? Like, are you allowed a car?
Can I take an M1911?
Well, I'm just
take an
rock up at Protos and say, right, we've got to go to Mordor and I'll drive. Like, it would make things very, very easy.
I mean, you've still got to get through the Black Gate. Like, no cars.
Now
going
you
to get
fly.
through that.
No,
just take like an Apache gunship, and then you're good.
That's probably going to be okay. Yeah.
You're really, really proud of your Apache gunship until the fucking fell beasts are all over it. You're like, oh god.
Nah, it's got rotor blades. All you have to do is tip a little bit to the left or the right, and they're toast.
It doesn't have a giant chain gun and like air-to-air rockets and stuff. I think you probably get a lock on against those
I
things.
just love the idea of fucking Saruman trying to snipe you with fireballs. He's like, get out of there.
Or like you're flying in like Maverick in an F-14 Tomcat.
Fly straight into the eye of Sauron and poke his eye out.
Yeah. What's this one here? Avatar 3 could have gone in the direction of Army in Darkness, where Quaritch becomes the Ash character, leading the tribe of primitive Na'vi screwheads against an evil tribe while getting sugar from the female tribe leader. Could well have been, yeah.
Yeah, better idea than what they did. I can tell you that.
Hail to the bar. What kind of mics and programs do you all use for making your videos? Any advice for someone who's about to start in the game? I mean, there's like a million mic recommendations. I think we've talked about this before, where it's like, if you're going to invest in anything for YouTubing, a decent audio setup is probably a good bet.
The most important thing, yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
And yeah, when it comes
to what to do with it, which is all because like I had a really simple, like the AT2020 is a good cheap microphone, which was the one I started with, and it's also really easy to use. Then I upgraded it to a better microphone with a better mixer, which I have never figured out how to use, so it still sounds worse.
Yeah, I'm on the AT2020 at the moment actually, and I've never found a problem with it. Like, I don't know, like I almost imagine there's a ceiling with audio fidelity where it's like, okay, beyond this, like your gains are going to be like marginal at best.
Yeah,
in terms of quality.
As long as you hit a particular level, you'll be okay. Then it's down to like how you speak, your accent, and all that sort of stuff. But I was going to say, like, I've been on Vegas now since I can remember. Before it was Vegas, it was Movie Maker. So, you know, it's been reliable for me.
With audio gear, it's absolute. I mean, really, like anything, it's diminishing returns once you get past a certain point. If you're not speaking clearly, it doesn't matter. And if you don't know how to use it, then it doesn't particularly matter either. Someone who knows what they're doing is going to make a bad mic sound better than you if you don't know how to speak into it properly. And also, you know, you're not producing music. I assume you're not producing music if you're recording things to go on YouTube, which means it's going to get compressed anyway. So it doesn't have to be, you know, like you don't need a $2,000 microphone like you might use in a recording studio or something.
What I love as well, every time Windows does an update, then you find like your audio settings have completely changed. So next time you go to record a video, you speak and like you're maxing out the mic and it's like popping like crazy for absolutely no reason. I love that. It just like throws you a little curveball every so often. You know, it's nice.
Yeah.
And yeah, John Gets Gaming here saying, it's a theme park ride. Flashy while you're there, in one ear, out the other, see some effects, and then forget the story 2 hours later. More franchise fatigue compared to the 13-year gap last time and less time for visuals to improve. That is 100% accurate, yeah. Pretty good assessment of what Avatar is at this point. And yeah, like, I think familiarity is going to end up breeding contempt with those movies. You know, we don't have that big gap, the anticipation with it anymore. It's just another one. So I think it's been very interesting what the box office ends up doing. But yeah, one of the other things I was going to bring up, you guys remember Army of Darkness? I think we talked a little bit about that there in one of the super chats. Remember how they brought in Tig Notaro for that because like the original actor.
Wait a minute. Army of the Dead, not Army of Darkness, dude.
Oh no, sorry, yeah,
Yeah.
Army of the Dead, yeah.
Army of Darkness is really good.
Apologies, yeah, sorry, I misspoke. Army of the Dead, yeah, Zack Snyder's absolutely classic movie that everyone totally remembers and talks about all the time. Yeah, Tig Notaro was in that. She was brought in late in the game actually because the original actor was removed for, how can I put this, accusations and impropriety. And all
That
of
was
her,
Chris D'Elia.
Yes.
That was the original actor.
And all their scenes, all of her scenes had to be composited in, so it was awkward as fuck. But anyway, yeah, she's excited because she's going to be making a new movie with him, apparently. And I'm not entirely convinced this isn't a troll, but it says here, yeah, Tig Notaro says she's writing a, quote, hot lesbian action movie with Zack Snyder. I mean, if that doesn't get you guys excited, I don't know what will. She said here, I go viral for being sexy in this film. This is Army of the Dead, apparently. And it was so unexpected. You're not kidding. I don't think any human in the history of like the human race is called Tig Notaro sexy. But anyway.
Did you get this from the Upside Down? Like this information? Like what is it? What's happening? Like
this is Variety reporting on this. So this isn't even just like some random fringe website. She says, my phone's exploding. I'm not walking around going, oh my God, check me out. I was so confused. So I called Zach and I said, I'm hearing it from straight men, gay women, and straight women that they think I'm hot in this movie.
Okay.
No. Anyway, she says, what if we just went for it? And everyone is just a hot lesbian. Why don't we make a new movie about that? And he was like, oh my God, yes, let's make that movie. And so who knows? It's a Hollywood project. We're in the process of putting the script together, which means they've got fuck all. Picture this poster. We have the name of this film, and then it says hot lesbian action. That's how I told him and sold him on it on Zoom. As of now, the movie is called Deviants and takes place back in some old-timey days, like some closeted deviants. So, great. Yeah.
They missed a trick there. Because calling it Rebel Moon Part 3 Hot Lesbian Action, that would have been a game changer.
I mean, with the cast they had in it, still remember the main character with her bowl cut hairstyle. I mean, that was pretty terrible. But
and the lady who screamed randomly, that was fun.
That was great, yeah. I want to see more about those orchestra players with the bags on their heads.
They deserve a movie.
Oh, God, yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I don't believe this is ever going to happen, but it's just weird, like what people like that will do to grab a little bit of headlines. So yeah, hot lesbian action movie with Tig Notaro. I mean, who wouldn't get excited about that? It's great.
Yeah. Anyway,
yeah, let's move on. Is Zack Snyder busy these days? Is he just looking for projects?
How long until you do a crash and burn on that fella?
I mean, I feel like I could already, realistically, but I feel I have to wait until it.
I was going to say, I'd warn you to wait because it feels like we're getting some extra chapters,
There's certain people I'm just poised with. It's like, I'm ready to go. Like Pedro Pascal, I feel like I could do one fairly soon, but like, I'll just let it play out,
See what happens next.
I can see what's coming. But yeah, with him.
So he's doing an Army of the Dead TV show spin-off, apparently.
Is he though?
Is that still happening?
This is according to IMDb, which betrayed me earlier, so I could be mistaken.
I'm pretty sure Netflix axed all of the stuff to do with Rebel Moon and Army of the Dead because it's just dead.
Okay, yeah, that wouldn't surprise. Well, if that's the case, then he's doing 5 things that I've never heard of. So the answer is probably that he's not doing very much.
Probably.
Do you think he's hoping this is going to get him some brownie points or something, or this will get him some extra attention within the industry? Like, hey, I'm working with Tig Notaro, and we're going to do a lesbian movie. I don't
know. The last photograph is in post, so he's got that coming.
Did you guys see Twilight of the Gods? I haven't heard good or bad things about it, but it's an animated Zack Snyder thing.
I've heard bad things.
Really?
I mean, that doesn't surprise me, but yeah, I don't know. It's substantially better received than the last few things he did, being Rebel Moon and Army of the Dead. So I might give it a go at some point.
Yeah. I was curious, like, how many more years would you give that guy to be like a relevant force within the industry before he's just in director's jail forever.
The time is not
that
running
time
out.
I think the time is now. I mean, he's in director jail.
But is he
Motherfucker
though?
had
'Cause I feel
three
like it.
completely original like films to do, and he failed all three.
I know. I feel like he's still got a following, which means he's still got a presence within the industry. Like he hasn't been completely forgotten yet.
I mean, that didn't Shyamalan, didn't he have just like a 10-year period of just making like dud after dud, and somehow he still has a career?
Well, but he's good with budgets, though, as far as I'm aware, anyway.
As in, he doesn't make
Well,
expensive movies.
He makes those movies independently too. So
right,
okay,
and he resells them, and they do moderately well because they're cheap.
As far as because didn't he did Trap? That was a 30 million budget. And it made
that was kind of
83,
his comeback, or it was meant to be.
Okay.
Anyway.
Well, did The Visit and Old, did they have good results box office wise?
Old is so fucking funny, that movie.
Yeah,
a lot of his movies are very funny.
Yeah,
he's a wacky guy. Good for him.
They're
Though,
Old.
you know?
What fuck, Jesus? Okay, so Old had a budget of 18 million. I'm surprised it's that high, and it made 90 million.
Yeah,
like that's not
insane.
incredible, but that's really good. Yeah,
you can laugh at him, but like if he's making money for him, it's like, hey, keep going, man, keep going.
I guess so. Yeah, but Zach's not in that sort of category of being able to produce movies on a budget. Like he likes his big overblown action sequences. So,
well, from what I can tell, Army of the Dead and Rebel Moon were both just money pits. Like they didn't make it back on. We know that it wasn't successful because the plan was to have like fucking 5 Rebel Moons, and as far as we know, it's dead.
Yeah. I mean, Rebel Moon was going to be the next Star Wars. It was supposed to be prestige movie making.
It was meant to be like a multimedia, franchise with video game tie-ins and merchandising and all the rest of it. And I think I did see a toy in like a supermarket at one point, but it was just like one of them. That's really the only thing that I've
wanted
seen.
it to be the big beardy bad guy just going, do it, kill her.
Kill her.
Yeah, you say
that is. There was like a mobile game for it that came out, or a Netflix game or something. It looked horrible.
Yeah. I feel like that line, do it, kill her, like that's the thing that people are going to remember about those movies. Everything else will be lost to time.
I mean, like, MauLer, how do you feel about the fact that Anthony Hopkins is effectively in those movies?
Get your bag, buddy.
Yeah.
I'd have done it too. I would have just done it funnier. I would have messed with the lines.
Yeah. I like this one. This was doing the rounds on Twitter today, and it just kind of made me chuckle. Where it's like they've released the cast list for Avengers Doomsday, and someone pointed it out. Like they seem to have abandoned the whole MCU aspect of filmmaking within Marvel because it's pretty much 95% guys, which is kind of funny.
Well, I mean, they've got like
still
1,000
women, right?
characters. They introduced 900 women in phases 4 and 5, and you can barely see any of them. What happened, Marvel? What's going on?
Where are they?
Well,
Where
it
are my
is this
women,
whole
damn
like,
it?
yeah, it's like you spent half a decade tanking your franchise to try and appeal to an audience that doesn't exist. Why have you abandoned this concept? It's so crazy,
And not only abandoned it for all of the male superheroes, but loads of fucking old male heroes. We're just dragging them out of their graves now. Have you got the images of the teams, by the way?
No, there because it's like 6 different teams or something, isn't it? They've been split into.
I don't know if maybe we'll have a nerd fight over this, but like the X-Men team just fucking clears. The rest of them don't stand a chance.
I would assume so, yeah. Like if they've got their full powers.
I'm amused infinitely by like Fantastic Four. They'll be able to do something against.
Well, imagine the
Professor
fucking
X.
Thunderbolts. Like,
Yeah.
apart from Bob, right, who's essentially like invincible. Like the rest of them are fucking useless.
Here's the teams.
All right,
I
hold
found
on. Let
it.
me see if I can bring this up.
Yeah. I'll,
Oh,
yeah,
right.
Here we
okay.
go.
Yeah. So they're fucked, the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, let's not
okay.
even talk about them.
Okay.
It's over. So this is the Thunderbolts. The only one that can matter is Sentry, but I don't know that he can do anything against Professor X.
He's pretty powerful.
He's
But,
probably
Professor X,
uniquely
yeah, he is.
vulnerable because Bob's whole weakness is that he gets depressed. So
Yeah, Professor X
can just make him
wait,
depressed.
wait. Isn't that his power that he's depressed?
Well,
I
then he
don't know.
becomes an evil psychopathic shadow monster. So
who
he's
kills
kind
everybody,
of lost.
including his own team at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, that's no great loss, really, is it?
So this team, man, fucking Magneto and Professor X is already game over. But then you've also got Cyclops' lasers, Gambit's magic, Mystique can become literally fucking anybody. So they just Nightcrawler can teleport, and then Beast is basically, their Hulk. So this team is stacked. Like,
I mean, I hate to say this, but that's like literally the only group of people I'm excited to see back.
and it'll be short lived because they're all gonna get fucking killed. And it'll be like, woo,
I honestly hope Professor X just gets like a fucking multiverse of madness treatment where he just gets his neck snapped.
why would you want
Instantly
that?
dies.
If he dies in Doomsday, that's going to be Patrick Stewart's 4th on-screen death as Xavier.
I thought it was
It's gonna be
fake, to be honest with you.
ridiculous.
He's died so many times. Yeah, so this is the team that has the best chance because you got Thor and Loki, but still.
Well, Thor and Loki are
Loki still
gods. The question is, could Xavier, for example, can he do anything to Thor and Loki, given that they're gods?
Presumably, yes. I don't see why it wouldn't work on Thor. Loki can go invisible, so that's
I love how
Wanda's
the
magic
whole-
works on Thor, so you'd think Professor X's would, given that
I
it's
love how
getting to the mind.
the whole right hand side of that picture is completely fucking irrelevant. Sam Wilson, fucking Falcon, and Shang-Chi.
I will say,
like, fuck off, guys.
Sam Wilson sucks, but like he is kind of OP for just a guy. You know what I mean? He's got the vibranium suit, he's got the stupid shield, he's got the flight juice boosters, and the
Sure, like
Professor
Professor
basically-
X could just turn his brain into
No,
fucking
yeah, I'm
concrete
saying
or something.
in his field, right, in his class, he's pretty good, but against any of these other like higher tier mutants and stuff, he can't do anything. Magneto would kill him instantly.
Yeah,
Because like vibranium's not like the Magneto can fuck with vibranium, right? I assume.
I guess so. You
forget how
can do
he
it with
interacts
adamantium.
Yeah.
it.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I just thought
where's-
this was funny. It's like the X-Men are going to dominate.
So
But then
where's
again, those engineers-
where's She-Hulk in all this? Where's Captain Marvel? That's what I want to know.
Mm.
How many
With
women have been
Scarlet-
actually showcased here? Is it just Fantastic? You got Invisible Woman and Mystique. Is that it?
I saw Ghost, I think, in
Wait,
there
wait,
from
let's
Thunderbolts,
see
and
if I
there
can-
is
wait,
also Yelena from Thunderbolts as well.
Oh,
So there's
yeah.
Yeah, we got
right.
because like she's got the power of shooting guns.
and there's who else? There's Pedro
Yeah.
Pascal from the Fantastic Four.
We got
Um,
Mystique. Are we gonna have Scarlet Witch back? Or is she?
no,
is
she's
she
not
dead
returning
dead?
for this one apparently, but she's probably coming back at some later point because she's definitely not dead. But I don't think she's returning in Doomsday.
So
I
she'll
can't
come
remember the
back when-
character's name at bottom left of that photo. I can't remember her name.
Shuri?
Oh, Black
yes,
Panther.
yes, yeah.
I
The
thought
new
that was a
Black Panther,
dude.
yeah.
Sorry. Whoops.
Strong jaw.
Yeah. Yeah, Shuri. Super interesting character. Loads of powers, loads of abilities.
I mean, which of the wonderful female characters they've introduced recently would we really like to see come into this movie? Like America Chavez
Ooh,
or
absolutely.
Cassie Lang?
The
maybe?
Silver Scarab. Does everyone want Silver Scarab to come back?
I
I'm sure you all
remember
know
that person. Yep.
Yes. Gaia. Let's get Gaia in. Let's do it.
I'm always going to root for my girl Brie. I want to see Captain Marvel come in and just dominate. It's about time. She needs that comeback.
Marvel's Katie. Hopefully, we can get a few more scenes.
No, wait. Echo. We need Echo back.
Yeah, we need all of these back. They need a whole team.
Yeah.
They could do like the Endgame scene, but for an entire movie. Just all the women to be bundled in together.
It is funny though because like Chris, you might be able to help us out with this. Didn't guys like Kevin Feige say that we tried this whole like MCU thing, we did our bit for King and Country, but like now we have to get back to actually making money.
Yeah, that's what this pivot is.
And is this literally is this the end result of all of that? Is this them actually trying to course correct?
Yeah. If you look at the cast, yeah. I mean, there's no She-Hulk, no Captain Marvel, no Ms. Marvel, no Photon or whatever. Is that Photon was a person? She was in the Marvels. Anyway.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So this is getting back to basics. I did hear an interesting rumor about the trailer for Doomsday that there are 3 different trailers they plan to roll out in 3 consecutive weeks that connect somehow.
Did they say when? Is it going to be with Avatar?
With Avatar, starting with Avatar, and then
Right.
they'll be. I mean, there was rumors there was like 25 plus trailers. Now this is what I heard from, I could not get this confirmed, but there's already news stories about it. So F it, that there are 3 different trailers that you'll see in a row.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I mean, like, you have to wonder as well, like, what is the budget for this movie going to end up being, and what is it going to have to make in order to turn any kind of a profit? Because we found out supposedly the budget for Deadpool and Wolverine was north of 500 million. I'm dubious about that, because I do wonder if there's a little bit of, hey, the higher we claim the budget to be, the more of a tax write-off or the more of a tax rebate we get from the British government, because we filmed it partly over there.
Yeah.
But it's almost in their interest to claim it as high as possible.
Or studio math, where movies don't make money. You're not paying residuals on movies that don't turn a profit.
Yeah.
So all this,
it was also affected pretty hard by the strikes, as far as I'm aware. So they could absolutely have claimed or exaggerated, not that it won't have cost them money, but they could have baked that into this 500 million figure.
Yeah. But I mean, I think it would be safe to say that whatever the budget ends up being for Doomsday, it is going to be one of the most expensive movies ever made, just on the cast alone, because the amount of money that you're going to have to sink in to get these people into your movie is going to be absurd.
I mean, I would imagine, obviously, if it makes less than $1 billion, then Marvel is done. Like that, it's not continuing if that happens. How much higher does it need to go? Because like the last 2 Avengers movies, Infinity War and Endgame, those, if I recall, were like a healthy 2 billion plus. Like they made a lot of money. So if this is nowhere near that, if this is like 1.4, Age of Ultron numbers, like 1.4 or whatever, then I think the writing's on the wall at that point. Even if this film makes money, it's not a good sign that an Avengers movie does not make 2 billion.
Probably. I mean, they might look at it slightly differently in the sense that this one almost uniquely does not need to make money. What this one needs to do is to prove that there is still an audience, a sizable audience, that can be made to be interested in this franchise. Because as far as I understand it, Doomsday and Secret Wars are going to kind of do a reset. If they spend $800 million, let's say, on a movie, and it can't ever make its money truly back, but it still makes, say, just north of $1 billion. And then people get back into the habit of going to a Marvel movie and the story has reset with them in the cinema, then you might be able to make more of a profit in later stories, which have now kicked off from the beginning again. So it's almost more of a strategic than a financial calculation, I would imagine, that they're making. Whether it succeeds or not is a different question. But I don't know that they are looking at this one saying this does need to make money for us. I think this one needs to make an audience for them.
It needs to make the MCU cool again, which is like something it has lacked in at least half a decade. That's the problem. Like once you got past Endgame, they just started to seem played out and kind of corny and just like a bit of a relic from a different time. And they've never really overcome that. Like the only time they've gotten close, I would say, in recent years has been Deadpool and Wolverine. For all the faults that movie had, it at least captured a bit of imagination again, and it was a movie that made fun of itself a lot of the time, and to a larger extent the MCU. But now you can't rely on that. Like, this movie can't be just like a parody or anything. It's got to be a serious movie that gets people invested, and that is a tall order at this point for Marvel. You know, like, if you're talking about spending money like it's still 2019, you could do that, but it's not 2019. The audience perception of your brand and the level of enthusiasm from your brand is not what it was 5 or 6 years ago. And probably you're never going to quite get back to that. The best they can hope for is just to regain some sort of cultural momentum, but even that seems a little bit hazy at this point.
Yeah, like, it's also got to kind of reestablish the MCU, like literally the cinematic universe, the interconnected nature of the stories, which is what they had in the first 3 phases, because everything that they've done since Endgame, which is when the story ended, really, has just been like random bullshit that doesn't really have anything to do with anything. Like what the Captain America movie was a spin-off of the Hulk movie that came out 2 decades prior, and that was the first time that giant head floating out of the ocean was mentioned from the Eternals. Like just random shit like that. And then you have like the totally isolated ones like Guardians 3, the Spider-Man 3 as well. Like those are just like one-off movies. Arguably Deadpool, because as far as I'm aware, nothing from Deadpool is arriving in Doomsday, although I could be wrong on that. So they're very much they're not taking advantage of what helped the MCU to kind of become as big as it was. I have no idea if it's even possible for them to do that and also have so many characters in Doomsday, because if they're just relying on, oh my God, look, we've got 50 different fucking superheroes at once, where's the time for a story if you're just throwing all of these characters in?
I think, like, going back to the point that you made previously about, like, this is essentially the litmus test for whether superhero movies and Marvel can even be a viable prospect at the box office anymore. Like, if this doesn't succeed, they're fucked, and they know it. Because this is really the ultimate expression of what the Marvel Cinematic Universe has become. A lot of, like, trading on past glories of like, hey, you remember this character from this movie, don't you? Like, well, we're bringing them back and we're going to smash them up against another character from a different movie. Isn't that going to be interesting? This is taking that concept to its absolute most extreme conclusion. And if it doesn't work, if it doesn't generate the amount of interest and the box office revenue that they need it to, which is probably going to be north of $2 billion, then this franchise is sunk, and it's not worth the time and money that has to be put into making these movies anymore. So it feels like D-Day. And we kind of said that of 2025 in general. Like, they had 3 movies come out this year. None of them succeeded at the box office. You know, and where do you go from there? It's it feels like a franchise that's come into like this like evolutionary dead end. It's gone as far as it can go. It's taken everything to the most extreme with like visual spectacle, with action, with novelty of like bashing different characters from different franchises up against each other. And what more can you do beyond that?
I mean,
that's the question they're going to ask.
It's got to be like spectacularly successful, I think. If not financially, then at least in quality, because then if it has like a dedicated core audience who are going to come back, then okay, fine, there might be some life left where they can, you know, reimagine and reset the stories and start doing different things. But what actually happens if the film is a catastrophic failure? If it pulls less than $1 billion, what do they do?
Is that not a hilarious statement, just by the way?
Oh, if it pulls less than $1 billion, it's a failure. Yeah. Well, that's where we are, unfortunately.
If you're talking about budgets in the $400 or $500 million range, then yeah, anything less than $1 billion, you're losing money. Like, it's literally not worth your time in doing it.
The fact that statement is true should already make them go like, "Oh, we're fucked. Everything's fucked." It's so broken.
Bloat. Yeah, it's corporate bloat, but on a creative level. That's what
it's got to make 2 James Gunn Superman to even probably break even.
I think it's so funny that Zootopia Zootopia 2, and it's like its first week made more than Superman made in its whole run.
It's
I mean, that's wild.
Crazy. It's crazy.
But Superman though, still a major hit. Don't worry, guys. The DCU is just as healthy as it's always been. I mean, this. Sorry.
Sorry, just very quickly, like Superman failing in that sense, like financially, that honestly does not bode well for Doomsday, because if a Superman movie can't make money, like regardless of whether it's obviously not part of the MCU, it's a separate thing, but it's Superman who supposedly has universal appeal, and it's still only made what, $600 million or whatever it is. Like that should make Marvel very worried. People don't care about superhero movies anymore.
No, you're 100% right. I do like this as well. Like this, the perception around movies in general has changed. This is a point I was going to get into, actually. Like, I kind of feel like we're slowly moving away from the very idea of going to the movies. And we've probably talked about this before, but like the actual cinema going experience for a lot of people isn't that pleasant anymore. You know, you have to drive to the movie theater, you have to sit through 30 minutes of fucking commercials and trailers and stuff. Then you might get to see the movie. Then you're going to have people talking and eating food and farting and like just generally making the experience unpleasant for you. Then you've got to drive home at the end of it. And for what? Just to see it on a bigger screen than you have at home. Like for most people, that's becoming less and less appealing as a prospect. And I think that's partly why like the whole idea of going to the movies is dying out. I if I had to guess, I would honestly say that like 10, 15 years from now, everyone like will just watch movies at home, and like a lot of people, they will watch the majority of their content, I hate to say this, on their fucking phones. They'll be on their phones because they will trade the spectacle and the quality of like a cinema experience for the convenience of just lying on your couch and looking at on your phone there. I think that's where we're ultimately heading. And it pains me to say that, but I don't see an alternative.
I think that there will always be a spot in the cinema for films that are made, like for example, Avatar. Like that is made for that. Nolan has said the same thing. Like he is making movies to be seen in IMAX, on the big screen or whatever. And if people aren't going to the cinema, like, I mean, I guess this was largely because of COVID, but like Tenet Tenet wasn't a failure, but it didn't make very much relative to his other movies. And if people aren't going to go and see those massive movies like Doomsday as well, then it means that those movies, it doesn't mean that those movies are then going to be seen on phones. It means those movies aren't going to exist. They will essentially die out. Because if you had to, like, for example, if Avatar 3 was coming soon to an iPhone near you, and you had to pay, £10 or whatever it is to get your quote unquote cinema ticket to watch it on your phone, and going to the cinema was not an option, the audience would be like, what, 1% of what it otherwise would have been? Because who wants to watch Avatar on their phone?
Yeah, well, I think what you're going to see is like the big prestige movies like that, where it's like, okay, there is a bit of visual spectacle there. There might still be an audience for that for the movie theaters, but it'll most probably be like people will watch it on their home cinema setup, because we're getting to the point where like you can have like a fucking massive TV in your living room for relatively, affordable amounts, or a projector or whatever, and a pretty decent surround sound system. It's not going to break the bank, and you can get an experience that's close to being in the cinema, but you don't have the inconvenience of like paying like $20 a pop to watch a movie and like being surrounded by people that are going to interrupt your viewing experience and all the other stuff. Like you're going to be in your home environment. And I think that convenience of being in the comfort of your own home with a pretty decent setup is probably going to make the difference for most people. And they would rather do that than go to the movies.
I think it will for a lot of people, but then I also think that a large part of why people think in that way is just because basically every movie that comes out these days is shit. And a lot of movies are now releasing on streaming services instead of, or as well as, in the cinema. So like if something comes out, am I going to take the gamble, or am I going to wait and watch it in the comfort of my own home?
But that is quite often because they are shit. Movies that are doing incredibly well in the theaters will stay in theaters for a long time. The Mario movie, I think, was 6 months before it arrived on streaming. It might be longer. Barbie, similarly, quite a long time before it moves from cinema to streaming. It's just streaming. If a movie comes out and it's already underperforming expectations after the first weekend, then it's going to end up on streaming basically within a month because it's already missed its target. It's just not good enough to be in a cinema. These big event movies need to be big event movies in order to justify the expense, and in order to, because what you're really going for the Minecraft movie, for example, is not the Minecraft movie. What you're going there is the social experience and effectively the meme value of being able to say, I was at the Minecraft movie where the guy threw a chicken. Nothing to do with the quality of the movie, but it is still a massive event. And other recent, very successful movies have proven that event cinema has still got quite a lot of life in it. Barbie is another example. Mario is another example. I suspect The Odyssey, when that releases, will be another one. And obviously the older Avengers movies did pretty well as well. Quality has a large part of it for them, but I mean, it's, and the convenience, and obviously, yeah, but the major problem is that you're getting quite often a lot of essentially short to medium form entertainment, which is budgeted like medium to long form entertainment is. The amount of money you're going to spend going out to a cinema on tickets, on fuel, on food is not going to be so much less for 2 hours of your life than you're going to spend on a video game, for example, that gives you 40 hours of entertainment, endlessly replayable, that you can touch whenever you want to. A lot of the pricing for these movies just makes them uncompetitive. They're not good enough to justify the amount of outlay that they require. But there's not an easy way around that beyond massive reforms to the way that movies are made.
Well, I think that that might be part of it. And it's like, ultimately, exhibitors choose the prices that they set for their cinema tickets. I don't know. I think what you're going to see is like actually going to a movie theater will be like going to the actual theater to see a stage production. Like there'll be a market for it for like a niche audience of people who are passionate about that sort of thing. But the primary means for getting all that medium across to people is going to be in their own homes now. It's going to be through streaming.
Well, unless you start getting like a really, really big menu of very, very big event movies again. And the other thing that's sort of unusual about our current time is how much of the box office has been monopolized for more than a decade by Disney generally, but Marvel in particular. If you discount the Avatar movies and the Marvel movies of the last 10 years, the box office is pretty tiny. They take up a huge share. And the Marvel Cinematic Universe is not in a very healthy place at the moment. So it's almost like movies have gone all in on one type of event movie, the Marvel movie. And now that that's gone, what else is replacing it? Compare it to any given year of the 1980s. 1984, fantastic year for releases, Ghostbusters and everything else that comes out just in that 1 year, which is all worth going to the cinema for. Now, if there isn't a Marvel movie out, the chances are there's not much out at all. So that's another problem, that they've put all their eggs in one basket.
Well, yeah, go back to the 1980s as well. Like Ghostbusters came out in the cinemas, right? You'd have to wait like a year for it to come out in home release. And even if you did watch it at home on your VCR, you'd be watching it on like a 22-inch TV or something. Like it's not going to be anything like what we can do now. Like the experience of home cinema has changed so much in the decades that I don't know, it competes with cinema in a way that just appeals to people's sense of convenience and just, I don't know. It's a larger trend, I think, in like our current culture where we are trading spectacle and wonder and quality for just the convenience of being able to do things quickly and easily.
I think, yes, I think that's true. But then I would also stress, and I assume that you guys would agree, that there are certain movies that definitely benefit hugely from being seen in the cinema. Like in the last year, I have been to the cinema a bunch, and more than 50% of the time when I went, it was to watch a rerun of a classic movie. Maybe a movie that I had, where I was born after it came out, something like that. And you just got films like The Shining is amazing in the cinema. Alien is one of the best movies I've ever seen in the cinema. It's just so immersive. And even though, you think, oh, does Alien compare to something like Avatar in terms of visual fidelity? Like, no, but the experience of watching it in a dark room with all the flashing lights is incredible. You also, if you've already seen the movie, then you aren't really taking a gamble on, am I wasting my time and money on going to see Jurassic World 8 or whatever it is.
And I 100% agree. And I think from your perspective and from the perspective of probably everyone on this panel, we would appreciate stuff like this because we're passionate about film as a medium. But like, I think general audiences now, that shift is starting to happen where they care less and less about that experience of being in the big cinema with like giving it your undivided attention. I just don't think we're seeing as much of that now. And I hate to say it because I wish it wasn't that way, but it just feels like that's the way viewing trends are heading.
I put this link in the private chat, Drinker.
Oh, yeah.
We did a whole live stream on this yesterday, Alan Ing and I. It's a memo from 1991 from Jeffrey Katzenberg about the industry.
I'll see if I can share it.
Yeah, you should be able to, but it's something for another stream or grab that link, guys, because if you read this memo, it might as well be about the present. It's Katzenberg talking about we can't make everything a big event. Not every movie has to be a tentpole. And he talks about this was it's a really fantastic like analysis of the industry where he gives no F's. I mean, this is he's not like Iger at Disney is such a politician. He talks, he's so full of shit. And Katzenberg, who I met one time at DreamWorks, had a conversation with, he's very realistic about the industry, money. Not everything can be a tent pole. We have to develop story is the most important thing. If you read this memo, nothing about inclusion, nothing about DEI. It's all about story. And if you know anything about the history of Disney, Michael Eisner and Jeffrey Katzenberg rebuilt Disney from their, they were not on great ground in the 70s and 80s and brought it back in the late 80s, 90s, built up, the Disney that, why they have the reputation now. And you got to read this thing when you have time. It's like 30 pages and worth it.
Well, I love this. This line here just stuck with me. Our biggest disadvantage is that unlike 1984, when times were relatively normal, a tidal wave is now hitting Hollywood. A tidal wave of runaway costs and mindless competition. Holy fuck, was that guy prescient or what? Like, damn.
It's a really fascinating read. So I recommend checking it out.
Yeah. No, that's interesting stuff. Let me finish up by doing a few super chats since we got them here. Give me 1 second just while I bring them up here. Okay, so got my medical bill paid off. Sorry, I commented on this a few weeks ago. I remember you, sir. And I've taken the panel's advice on starting a channel, got a name and theme for my YouTube channel, and I'm writing my first script. I wish you all a Merry Christmas. Well, I wish you a Merry Christmas too, sir, and best of luck with your new channel.
Merry Christmas.
Jeremy Johns made me laugh in his review. So the heroes are going on the air, poking at the government, questioning the narrative, throwing out conspiracy theories, and ignoring quarantine during quarantine time. What's that a reference to? What was he reviewing there?
Is that
Stranger Things?
Oh, right, yeah. Good point.
Oh, yeah. Fair.
Nice one, Jeremy. Did you try Vana Tallinn in Estonia, their signature drink made in Tallinn? Also, Tallinn is a beautiful city featuring plenty of 13th century architecture, castles, and churches. Love it. Not all Estonia is bleak. No, I was just the weather was pretty horrendous when I was there. But like, what do you expect when you go in late November? It was always going to be pretty bad. I had lots of beer when I was there and some really nice Georgian wines, actually. So I can definitely vouch for them. But yeah, I liked Estonia. I like the history of the place. And yeah, one day I will go back in the summertime when it's like nice and sunny and warm. Yeah. Good to see Random caught his Spartacus BNS review, and it was so good. I rewatched the entire series again. Gory violence and gratuitous TNA. Excellent. Superb viewing. Panel's thoughts on the show. Angron's gay, by the way.
Agron is indeed gay.
I was thinking of Angron from Warhammer 40k. For some reason, I was like, no, he's definitely not gay. He would like destroy you if you said that.
I don't think Angron is gay. Agron in Spartacus is definitely gay, although he's not. Well, I guess he is gay in Blood and Sand, but he's not. You don't see him being gay in Blood and Sand, so I don't know if that was changed later.
I only saw like I saw most of Spartacus back in the day. I really liked it. I mean, decent show. Like very much felt like 300 had been turned into a TV show, but I like that style. And yeah, decent cast, decent storyline. I thought it was fun.
Yeah, it's up there as like my favorite show, and ironically, the first season in particular. And we got the spin-off House of Asher coming out tomorrow, so we got that to look forward to. That'll be fun.
Yay!
Why
does Lucas say I'm going to soften it about the tunnel with a smirk as if it's a cool line?
Because it's a protracted dick joke. That's why. It's so funny. It was really funny when they did it the first time, and it remained really funny when they did it the second, third, fourth, and fifth times. And then this line was just the absolute brilliant way to pay off that joke.
Doesn't Robin have a line where she's like, "I'm all about the dick,"
Yep.
and then she's like, "Oh no, I didn't mean that because like I'm totally gay and I love to, I'm not into dick at all." It was hilarious. You really had to be there. Yeah, MauLer, working my way through the Star Wars Outlaws review for 6 hours alone. I'm honoring my vow. My sacrifice, it means nothing to you, does it? What did you sacrifice?
Oh, 14 months.
Yeah.
Nothing but it's all good. I hope you enjoy it.
Have you set some sort of a record with this? Like longest review ever?
Well, I think there's some people who have like reviews of some stuff that's even longer. I'm not sure. I'd have to check, but it's one of the longer ones for sure. I think
it's got to be up there. It's got to be up there.
Certainly with that kind of like editing, I think there's some people who have like 500-hour videos on YouTube, but them also just like playing a song or something.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry if I'm late. I hoped Avatar 3 focused on identity. Quaritch is an enemy Na'vi body crushing his human skull, Avatar 2, and his son abandoned among the enemy. Coping with failure, only seen as being a cheap copy by commanders. So I think from what Chris was saying, no, they don't do any of that. He's just back to being generic bad guy who wants to kill everyone. Which is great. Yeah, we're happy with that. It's writing, everyone. I always thought the idea with Steve was that he'd join Hopper in the police. It made sense since he knew what was going on. It could help Hopper, plus how he cared for people. The Duffer Brothers really didn't know what to do.
Nope.
No, they didn't.
He's Nancy's boyfriend for a while. Like, that's his character. And then when that's gone, they're like, what do we do now? And it's like, he's Dustin's best friend now.
Yeah. And he talks to Dustin like he's a peer of his, like he's the same age, and then they argue with each other, and it's just hilarious, MauLer.
Well, and everyone in every season has to tell Steve how much of an asshole he was, and then that he's getting better. But I'm just sitting there like, I don't know, man. It feels like he has to fight the writers. And whenever that happens, like John Walker, I end up liking the character a bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, I just rewatched Dark City last night. Excellent movie. Haven't seen it in 15 years. It's now one of my all-time favorite films. And yes, the Wachowskis absolutely plagiarized it. I mean, it's kind of hard to ignore like the thematic and visual references that they drew upon. I don't know. Like, if you ask them about it, I'm sure they'd deny the whole thing. But there you go. Dark City is a pretty good sci-fi movie. I like it. Yeah. Hello, lads. Have you ever searched Arnold Schwarzenegger Lord of the Rings on YouTube? Just curious. Greetings from Argentina. I mean, Arnold's been CGI'd into a lot of things, hasn't he?
He's the correct person to CG into everything.
Yeah. It's when they put him into like Whitney Houston kind of singing roles. It's glorious. Love it. Yeah, the theater I grew up seeing movies in used to be a playhouse and started showing films in the 30s. It stopped showing films and went back to plays over a decade ago. Maybe for the best. Might well be, yeah. I mean, these old style places that have only got like one screen, you don't see them anymore doing movies. Like, they're just not viable anymore. Yeah. We saw Alien on opening night in LA before anybody knew anything about it. Mock of a mother in the lobby. The audience was stunned. A woman sitting next to me was weeping. Oh, I hope you were going to say like she threw up or something like that. But that would have been cool. Yeah, I mean, it must have been such an incredible experience back in the day. You're talking about an audience that would have seen sci-fi movies as being like 2001: A Space Odyssey or Star Trek or something like that, or Star Wars. Sorry, to go to something like Alien, which was like super gritty and violent and gory, and just must have been something just no one could have predicted.
Well, also seeing the first Alien movie without knowing what a chest burster is, or without knowing what the alien actually looks like, because you get a much clearer look at it in the sequels and at the end of the first Alien movie, that's just going to completely change your experience of the movie. Like, you can't recreate it. The first time on that one really matters, I think.
And by God, they have tried to recreate it. But, Worked in a cinema. We had to pay a significant fee every time the film data was checked, even empty shows and tests. Then they had to take most of the ticket price too. Cinemas have to pay twice, hence the prices. So, I mean, that's always been the case, hasn't it? Like, distributors always take their 50% cut on anything.
Sure.
I'm not sure what that means by the film data was checked, or is this because if the film is being screened digitally as opposed to on physical film?
Right.
I'm not sure.
So if they ever so they've got it in their cinema, and every time they want to access the data file for the movie, it essentially triggers it's been played, and so then they have to pay a fee for it. I assume that's what they're saying.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't pretend to know how that works in terms of keeping track of what people are paying for these things, but yeah, it's still just seems like we're trapped in that world of ultimately movie tickets prices are too high for the average person now, and they're just not willing to pay it. And when you combine that with not giving them movies that they're excited to go and see, when you don't have event movies, there's very little incentive for them to shell out for that cinema ticket. I mean, we've seen it with particularly in the later part of the year. Once you get past the summer movie season and you start releasing the dramas and the Oscar bait movies and stuff, what's the incentive to see that on a big IMAX screen or whatever?
Yeah. More often than not, I find myself, I resent having to go and see a lot of movies in the cinema, because I try and do it for most movies anyway, like watch it once in cinema before doing the review, and then obviously review copy or whatever that I use for the second one. But the number of movies, Shelby Oaks being a really good example, did not like having to go and pay to see that film. Kind of resented it.
I loved it, Platoon. I loved it. I was happy to support it.
Yay. Job, stuck man.
No, I get what you're saying, though.
Doing the gambling ads, it must have meant that Shelby folks really did well, huh?
Oh dear.
Yeah. Yeah. Didn't work out too well. But yeah, man. I think I'll finish up there for this evening. Panel, guests, bar, and mods. It's been lovely having everyone here for this. Thank you guys for giving us your time. Chris, thank you for giving us your insight into Avatar. Sure. Fire and Ass. Can't wait to see it in 10 days time. It's going to be an experience.
I'm sure you'll like it even less than I did. So
yeah, I mean, if you like the previous two movies and you still shit on it, then yeah, get ready for what I'm going to say. But yeah. But yeah, rest of my panel, it's been awesome having you guys on as always. I appreciate you guys taking the time for this. And for everyone who's super chatted and the ones that we haven't answered yet, we will, as always, answer them on last orders. But right now, for tonight, that's all we got for today. So go away now.
Bye.